Okay, this is welcome everyone to the March 26, 2026 Board of Finance meeting, during which we'll do appropriations for the 27 budget. Calling the meeting to order. Is there any need to seat alternates? I see there is none. Approval of minutes. We're going to keep that for the next meeting. We've already approved the March 5th minutes. We'll approve the March 19th minutes at the next meeting. So moving on to present to speak. Anyone present to speak in the room or on Zoom? We'll start in the room first, but those on Zoom can be figuring out how to raise your hand if you know this person or present to speak. Thank you. Anyone in the room? Yes, please ID yourself and your street.
Okay, so my name is Liliana Borelli, and I'm at 70 Sparks Road, Wellington, obviously. So I just wanted to make you aware, I'm sure everybody on the board is aware, that in Connecticut, any citizen of the town can petition to remove any board member from, specifically I'm talking about the Board of Education or the Board of Finance members, when they fail either with knowledge or through ignorance, the failure to manage a superintendent, or for allowing financial mismanagement, lack of transparency, and poor, with the superintendent, poor student performance and unethical behavior. So I plan to start a petition on change.org if things are not done properly.
Are you talking about the Board of Education?
Board of Education, Board of Finance, you have a responsibility to the taxpayers to do what's right. Nobody gets a 6 to 7% increase. I am a retired nurse. I never got a 6% yearly increase. It was 2% a year, if that. And I don't see how a town that's financially in shambles can afford to pay what we're paying our superintendent and all the two principals, a literacy coach that's his wife, who is not certified to teach students, but to teach teachers, and we're giving him a leeway, and the lack of transparency is beyond. I know that you guys volunteer and you're doing your best, but I think you need to try better. You need to do better.
Thank you for your comment. Okay. Is there anyone else speaking in the room? Sorry. Yeah, Jim, you want to say who you are?
Yeah, Jim Bulick, Laurel Drive. I do want to thank the volunteers here on the board, and of course the workers. I know very much what's involved in assembling the budget. My understanding, at least by following along, is we're somewhere in the 6% range right now. That's at least what it looks like as an increase in spending. Again, that's far too high, given that inflation in the area is running about 2.8, 2.9% when I expect. And a quick poll of my regional companies, the typical raises that have been given out in Connecticut are roughly in the 3% range. So we haven't had extraordinary growth in our town. So I'm just encouraging you that I know a lot of work's been done, more work needs to be done to bring the budget in line with inflation and reasonable growth within our grand list. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the room before we go to Zoom? Peter?
Peter Latinchich, 97 Trask Road. I want to comment that it's important for the Board of Finance tonight in its appropriation to address what is currently appearing to be, based on the last meeting, 6.2% increase in the overall budget. That's in excess of 2 mils. That is a staggering increase at a time when Wellington families are attempting to work through persistent inflation high levels of poverty in town, very little salary increase, much like the town itself that's not seeing, as others have commented already, revenue increases. If Wellington families are not having a raise, if the town has no growth in its grand list, how could we be coming in with such a large increase? I understand you're working on it, and I applaud those efforts. What I don't understand is watching you attempt to remove even more in our town budget. Last year, you took it to a negative level in general government. Yet, I see no effort to look at the CIP spending portion of this budget. When I add up all the CIP spending proposed in your current proposed budget, I'm arriving at a total of $1,547,669. Within that total, I see a subtotal of $250,000 of town CIP spending, $1 million of transfer to school reserve, and $32,861 for fire station potential project work. That's a total of $1,282,861. That is entirely discretionary spending at a time when you're reducing our salt and sand budget yet again. So I encourage the board tonight, as they work to reduce that 6.2% increase, or in excess of 2 mils, to stop reducing the town budget and go to this CIP area where I've heard no discussion in any of your meetings to date. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone online? Is there any hands up that you see?
Oh.
Okay.
Get that for
Steve Ossier is on.
Steve.
She's right here. She has her hands.
Okay.
Not in a rush, but just I'm short.
I'll come back to you. I'll come back to you. Okay, so can we have Steve talk? Where is he? I'll see her. He's over in the
They're at the top of the list,
top left. Oh, I see.
participant list.
He's not showing.
Is this all the way to the top, please?
Yes.
I know, like in there. Oh, it's like in the crook of the second image.
Just tell him to unmute. We don't have to do anything, right?
Are they locked? Oh, you should they're locked. Can you unmute? So Steve, can you unmute? He's not showing as muted.
No, I think he has an audio.
Headset's not working.
Now, is that working better?
Better, thank you.
Sorry about that. Yeah, sorry, I'm using a new device right now. Steve Ozier, Wellington Public Library. Thank you, Chairman Summers. Thank you, the Board of Finance, for the opportunity to speak. I've heard some back and forth, and I kind of want to try and set, at least from the library's perspective, what happened last year and why there was an assumption or a thought of either a promise or some kind of arrangement made regarding the library's funding. Just
We lost you
last
again.
year.
Did you repeat? Yeah,
Are you able to hear me now better?
yes.
Yes. Last year when we were cut, there's just 2 points I want to make pretty quickly. The first is that, we were not under the impression that that cut was permanent. If we had known that, we would have operated completely differently than we did. We were told to use one-time savings, and at least from the town finance, we kept our budget as it was. That was kind of the assumption. If we had known that that 20% was permanent, we would have operated completely differently. So that's just one point I want to make. And the second reason why we operated under that method was, just to be kind of perfectly blunt, I was less than 3 months into the job, and I was surprised that that would have even been considered, that, essentially a welcome to Wellington was being kind of cut at the knees, as some other people have said of other departments that are struggling on the town side. So, with that being said, I hope you'll reconsider some sort of restoration of funds Because again, that funding cuts us back to 2021, 2022 levels of funding. No town budget, no town department can function that way. Whether it's staffing changes and minimum wage increases, it was $14 I said at the last meeting I was present for. It's now nearly 17. Medicare and Social Security have gone up, insurance, utilities, repairs and maintenance, software. Starting at funding at a 5-year deficit is going to have significant consequences. And at this point, all options on the table running below 2024, 2025 levels, depending on what the final appropriation is from the town, is including but not limited to closing one or multiple days, having reduced staff hours, deferring maintenance or repairs, cutting back on materials for patrons. Nearly every line item without a contractual or legal increase for the library could be cut or left flat. It also means assuming savings from reduced utilities and cutting funds for maintenance or repair needs due to closures at a time when costs of utilities are only rising, and when the library is in need of routine repairs as well as maintenance as it reaches its 20 years of age outside of CIP requests. Maintenance on our elevator that has to occur once every 5 years is $3,000 alone and must be done later this year. Services that residents rely on will be impacted, including access to spaces to meet and study, free wireless internet and charging outlets, as well as computer stations, printing and faxing, access to tens of thousands of physical items. Reduced hours also means fewer visitors. Patrons will seek out other town libraries for materials and services with more accessible hours, leading to less revenue from sales at our bookshop, fines and fees, grants from the state, and other revenues at a time when we've been asked to increase our revenues to offset our funding request. I'm working hard to stretch every dollar and actively find ways to bring revenue to offset our requests for town funding. We rely on the combination of town funding, donations, grants, investment income, and fiscal prudence to serve the community, but the town support remains the backbone of our ability to operate at well over 80% of our ability to operate in terms of funding. Continued one-time use of funds from savings or investment income at levels done back in 2025 is not only unsustainable for any nonprofit organization or town department, it's fiscally irresponsible to continue doing so, and this practice deters donors from financially supporting the library in the future. Thank you for your time, and I wish you all the best of luck.
Thank you, Steve. Nick Teller? Can you unmute?
Nick Teller, Myrtle Road. I just wanted to talk about briefly as far as when you guys are looking at areas of cutting. I know the general budget for the town is, I understand they took a hit last year and they feel pressure, seems to be this year also. But the Board of Education, year in, year out, every town obviously is feeling this. You guys know this. Phil Stevens in the past, when talked about combining the schools, had identified, I believe, 422 or $442,000. Obviously, he's already identified what positions he can get rid of and reduce. But I mean, we have a town with 380 kids, a superintendent, 2 principals. It's insane to have that much money at the top. I don't have the figures in front of me, but there's been plenty of research and such showing that other towns around us, Tallinn and such, operate much more effectively than we do. We really need to look at this top, the salaries at the brass, the top here, and cut something, because a superintendent and 2 principals for 370 kids is ridiculous. Again, Phil Stevens has already identified areas that staff can be cut. Maybe the Board of Finance can collaborate with him and work together. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else online? I'm seeing hands, but I think they've all been
Carrie, right?
carried.
Hello, Carrie Rainville here, Potter School Road. I am a parent, a staff member in our schools, the PTA president, and a youth soccer coach here in Wellington. So I am very lucky that I get to see our kids in our community in lots of various ways. I understand that budget decisions are complex, and I respect the responsibility this board carries, but I want to be very clear about what these proposed reductions actually mean for students and families. The potential loss of staff support directly impacts some of our most vulnerable students, those who rely on additional guidance, structure, and relationships to be successful each and every day. Eliminating world language programs removes an opportunity that broadens students' perspectives and prepares them for an increasingly global world. And implementing pay to play for middle school sports creates a barrier for families, limiting access to activities that are crucial for teamwork, confidence, and overall well being. These are not extras, these are essential parts of a well rounded education. From my roles both inside and outside of our schools, I see how important these opportunities and supports are for our kids every single day. I respectfully ask that you consider not just the short-term financial decisions, but the long-term impact on our students, our families, and our community. Willington has always been a town that supports its children. I hope that we continue to uphold that value. And our children only get one chance at their education. We owe it to them to get this right. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. There's a seat in the front, and I don't know if there's
There's a couple in the corner.
a couple in the corner.
Chairs all in the corner.
Not that you deserve to sit in the corner, but you know, that's what's left.
No problem.
Then let's see, I know Laura Rodriguez wants to speak. I want to get to the woman in the second row who wanted to speak. Could you state your name and your street?
I'm Katie Colbrook of the 79 Pound Road. I'm a parent and a taxpayer in town. I'm here tonight to speak about most of the Board of Education budget piece. I know it's not necessarily your role as a Board of Finance to direct other boards on how to do their budget, but from what I personally saw at the Board of Education budget, I don't feel like there was a lot of independent review of all the other budget line items. It was kind of like, we're going to cut these teachers and that's what we're going with. But I did the little worksheets for you guys, if you wouldn't mind taking a look at them. And I consolidated the operational budget expenditures that were, so on the budget that we were presented, it was cut, split by programs. If you take all of those line items in the programs and you combine them by like items, you actually get a lot of excess costs. At least it feels that way to me for our small district. For example, travel, conferences, workshops, and staff development. Some of that staff development and travel is contractual, but it's $79,000. The copiers across all the programs, $36,000. Supplies, $171,000. Something that so that's about the total I have on this sheet is like a $750,000 just, and this isn't including stuff like custodians. I left them off. We know that those kids are messy and we need all of that stuff. And then I just find it hard to believe with that level of cost that we don't have some flexibility before we're making decisions that impact our children and these teachers directly. Then there's also a lot of non-mandated roles that some other people spoke about. There's a literacy coach and a math coach. These are not state mandated positions. They are not direct student facing positions. They're great to have. I'm sure they do a wonderful job, but the two positions in our town equal about $170,000. That amount itself could take out of the budget that they presented, could put back the classroom teacher, the world language program, a partial PE position, and the intervention support role combined. And then the question becomes, why are we reducing multiple direct student supports while maintaining positions that don't work with students in the same way? I also looked at the administrative structure in Willington. When you combine the superintendent and director of pupil services, that cost is approximately $818 per student. In Ashford, which is a very similar structured district, that cost is approximately $541 per student. In Tolland, the superintendent, there's one. There is 2,200 students, 4 schools, I think, from what I saw online. Don't quote me on all these. Google, I was relying on Google. So that's $80 per student for the superintendent, and they have a high school. This is a significant difference, and it reflects structural decisions and how that impacts costs. the decision in front of all of you really creates a situation where families with children are impacted either way. Either our taxes go up or our children don't have the teachers that they deserve. I put together these handouts. Like I said, the consolidated operational budget is just the expenditures. It's just a little easier to look at, in my opinion. I like to see what the totals are across all the programs. I have the salary costs per students for Wellington, Tolland, and Mansfield for just the superintendent. And because Ashford's superintendent role is mixed with the director of pupil services, I did that one as a separate item. And then I also have a sample of administrative and non-classroom salary allocations. So if you take the superintendent, administrative assistant, director of pupil services, both of those positions have secretaries, but I only put one of them in here. The math coach and literacy coach, that's $1,692 per student. But what we were given that could be cut, although student positions, the teacher positions that directly impact our students is only $1,533 per student. So, and then I also, because I like to have a plan, I have the proposed budget that the Board of Ed presented, and what I, as a citizen and a parent, would have liked to see our Board of Education do is come up with alternatives. And these are just moving things around, like keeping, if we move the part-time, the superintendent and director of pupil services position to part-time, eliminated one secretary, the math coach and the literacy coach, there's no direct impact on students at all. And you can cut $69,000 from your operations budget, which you should be able to do, because like I said, that $700,000 isn't even the total of all of it. And then you keep the stuff that Phil had suggested on the top. You end up with the same exact budget reduction. You end up at the $790,000. Then I also did two other options, kind of keeping one extra staff support specialist, which we are told right now isn't fulfilled. And then also I had questions about why one of the staff support specialists is listed at $63,000 and the other two are $30,000. So if we hired someone that was maybe at the lower end. And then I even included that the first scenario, that $69,000 from our operational budget is only about 10% of that budget. And I really just feel like it's very disheartening to sit here year after year when we're very, very top heavy, and it's always the students and the teachers that get impacted. And those kids are with those teachers every single day. So I'm just hoping that maybe you guys could ask some hard questions and give a little push to maybe make some better choices.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Oh, Laura.
Yeah.
And
Steve, want to comment again?
No, I think he just hasn't put his hand down. Steve, have you? Well, I'm going to go to Laura for right now because I know she wants to say something and she hasn't spoken. Laura, can you?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep.
Laura Rodriguez, Timber Lane. First, I would like to, again, thank the Finance Committee for your hard work. This is difficult work that you do. I was at the last meeting, and one thing that I have to point out to some of the folks is that while all of the different budgets came in at 6.9, every person on the Board of Finance was saying that is too much, and they are working hard to get it down. What they are saying to the different boards is that they need to be at 3%. 3% can be a very difficult number to get to. Last year, the increase in the budget was only 1.4%. The past 10 years, Willington has averaged, I think it's 3.2%. Increase. So when you go down to 1.4 for a year, it makes it more difficult the next year. As far as the Board of Education budget, this is an incredibly hard year because there are 7 special education outplacements, and we are mandated to pay for them by the state, and that is a huge number. I've been a teacher for 40 years. I'm actually now retired. And to have that many special education outplacements in 1 year, I've just never heard of it before. So that is a huge piece of what the difficulties are right now. The other piece that we heard last week was that the health insurance is increasing by 30%. And I don't know, folks were going out to bid to try to get something lower. That was very concerning to me that it had increased so much. And as I said last last week, I really think that's something that should be brought to the Attorney General's awareness, because it doesn't seem right. All right, so first of all, I think one thing I wanted to say was I think the Board of Finance, I know you're trying to keep it low. I know that times are difficult. Inflation has gone up, and right now the situation looks like everything is going to go up because of the war in Iran and the increase in fuel, oil, and gasoline and natural gas prices. So everybody's in the same boat, but our town services have to pay those bills also. So the last thing I want to talk about, or what I think actually, 6.9, we all agree it's too much. That's a lot. That's a huge increase, but maybe 3% is not realistic after last year. So maybe consider, 4 to 5% with the way this budget is coming out. And then the last thing, I am the chair of the library board. And so I did want to mention, I was looking at the library's budget over the past 15 years. And it's an interesting look as far as up and down, funding, not funding, going negative. The change in the library budget between 24-25 and 25-26 was a minus 15.9%. And this year we are starting again at that much lower number, and we're actually being asked with a 3% or the increase that we're being asked would be still 10% lower than our 24-25. The change would be minus 10% from 24-25. So it's just, we've been looking at the budget, and it's difficult to see with such a small budget how you take out $35,000 to $50,000. We're not exactly sure of the number that's going to be decided today, but I would really ask the Board of Finance to consider funding the library. It's an amazing service in this town, and rural libraries are much more important than in big towns. It's the services that are provided are across the board. The young, the elderly, everybody benefits by having a library that is open and available to them. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on Zoom?
Are you able to hear me, Chairman Summers?
Yes, Steve, we have some other speakers. Are you wanting to add something?
West, I know you guys have a long meeting, so I want to take up much more of your time, but if there is a final appropriation for the library, if that could be communicated to me via email as soon as possible. I have a staff meeting on Monday at 5 o'clock, and this is going to be, whatever the final number is, a very difficult conversation. And I've already had to let my staff know today of what could or couldn't happen, and I don't want to keep them in limbo. And also, whatever the final appropriation is, myself and the board the following Wednesday need to start really looking at and going line by line through the budget to figure out what the final appropriation will be. So just asking for that communication so I can get something set up as soon as possible.
All right. Thank you. Jim?
Hi, thank you. Jim Marshall, Fisher Hill Road.
Can you speak up a little bit, Jim?
Jim Marshall, Fisher Hill Road. Thank you. I have the pleasure of serving as the chair of both the Capital Improvement Program Committee and the School Building Committee here in town. And I know that this being a discussion about town funding is going to be very highly viewed. So I'm going to co-opt a little bit of your time to talk about the work of the committees, because it's very germane to what you guys are discussing tonight, and the overall town budget picture as a whole. The School Building Committee formed 2 months ago. We are in the process of working towards developing a consolidated pre-K through 8 school project on behalf of the town to capitalize on significant legislation that greatly increases and improves our reimbursement rate for a potential school project, to the tune of somewhere in the neighborhood of 80 to 95% reimbursement from the state. That project is important because, as we're aware, because we've been saving for it and discussing it for nearly a decade, the schools we have now are in need of significant work. They're old buildings. They are not contemporary in any way, shape, or form. They are in need of significant repairs, the costs of which have been identified to be very likely crippling for this. That's why part of that effort over the past several years has been to try to save up to do something to avoid those costs. And cost avoidance in this instance is really a big part of what the school building committee is looking to accomplish through a consolidated school building proposal. We've been fortunate to develop the start of some savings towards the school project. And with these new reimbursement rates, there is the potential that we are going to avoid a very significant long-term bond, recurring debt obligation in a bond. We may have some level of spending, but it'll pale in comparison to what this town is going to face over the next 20 years if we don't get a consolidated school project across the line, potentially as early as June 30th for a referendum for approval in the town. The committee's working very hard to get a comprehensive financial picture. We are only just beginning and we're working very fast. But it is critically important and going to be critically important for the fiscal health of this town and the community for the next 2 decades, because if we don't pass it, we are going to be hit with significant bonding and significant recurring debt obligation to try to maintain buildings that we simply cannot afford as a community, a small town with a limited budget, to do. So I encourage everybody here, everybody watching online, to please pay attention to the school building committee meetings. Please help us come to a consolidated school project that will be advantageous, so that can be as effective and efficient as possible and serve the needs of this community moving forward. Secondarily to that, a consolidated school proposal also affords the opportunity of perhaps getting some meaningful reductions to an operating budget for the school that has become a challenge year over year. That is different from cuts that you're looking at tonight. Reduction in staffing through consolidation is an entirely different animal. It's based on efficiency of service, being able to get all those students under one roof, consolidating services, and eliminating redundancy, rather than what you're looking at now, which is cuts to staffing and program that are unavoidable, not through redundancy, but they're going to directly impact students and staff. It's a totally different ballgame. And anybody speaking saying, well, Bill's identified cuts to the Board of Ed budget, it's a completely different scenario when you're talking about those that were identified 3 years ago for the school building committee at that time. So the way to make a meaningful impact in the Board of Ed operational budget without dramatically impacting student performance, like some of the cuts that would happen tonight, are through consolidation. It's critically important to get that through. And that kind of leads in, and I'll try to be brief now. The Capital Improvement Program Committee, this is presented a flat spending level to this board this year. It has already been cut, not directly through spending, but through transfer of reserve fund or project savings in the reserve fund balance to the general fund balance. That is a reduction in capital spending of almost $200,000, which doesn't impact us now, but provides less capital reserve savings to offset projects that will need to happen over the next 5 years. All of these reductions to capital spending and capital savings for these future projects just make the situation harder in the years to come. It means we're going to bond or lease or have recurring debt obligations that are greater than they otherwise would be. We should always be paying ourselves first and not creditors. So by working to save and collect interest on funding rather than pay interest in long-term debt. So while I understand the difficulty that you guys are faced with, and you guys, I know how challenging it is. I've been on that side of the table as well. We as a community really have to recognize and understand that we need to, the work we're doing is starting to make inroads. And it's not discretionary spending. It's only, it's saving to avoid even greater costs in the future. And it needs to be addressed that way, and it needs to be supported to that kind. So I'll stop there, but thank you very much. And please pay attention to the school building committee work. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes,
Adam Zalonis, 119 River Road. Just want to ask the board, has there been a engineering analysis holistically of our operational capital projects to see what terms of what cost effectiveness or cost avoidance maximized we can get for doing certain projects? From an engineering standpoint, I look at this, I work for across multiple facilities and stuff. We try to do projects in a way that they're synergistic and not we're paying, do something that we're going to, 2 years later, we're going to replace it with something else. And just the timing isn't good. It's not efficient. That sort of thing. There's a lot of efficiency you could probably gain from doing some sort of engineering analysis across our entire, town budget, looking at potential cost savings, things like that. So
we don't engage in back and forth with President to speak. I'm gonna lodge that as a suggestion that we consider. And we consider such an analysis, and I appreciate that. And I believe you're on the school building committee.
Yes. One second comment I had was looking from an engineering standpoint, operating the two schools is extremely inefficient. I'd say considering it's the largest cost in our budget, we need to do something about this. We're going to keep suffering until we do something about this. We have to do something to minimize our costs and expenditures there. And I think consolidating is an effective way to do that, to reduce our costs. We have to be smart about it. We have to plan well and take advantage of what state funds we have. If we don't do that, we're going to suffer, I think, longer and longer in the future. So.
Thank you very much. Anyone else?
Graham Fresnel.
Graham, please identify yourself.
I'm Graham Frasnelli, Baxter Road. I'm an employee of the school system here, and I would just like to briefly touch on what some of the impacts might be from the proposed school budget in terms of their impacts directly on students. We've heard about the foreign language impact, and certainly that is a major impact on their further education. But I would also like to specifically touch on access to the school library, which is on the docket for elimination today. If we choose to eliminate the library para position, and in full disclosure, that would be me, we are limiting students' access not only to the library, but to further education and exposure to proper online practices and literacy with technology. As it stands right now, the library para and the librarian are the only ones in the school system who at all touch on online safety in their curriculum. So in addition to limiting or removing access from the middle school to students get to the library, they would also limit or remove access to information about the online world that we all live in. So I just wanted to briefly touch on that and make sure that the board understands the impact of removing that position.
Thank you very much. I think hi, Ralph.
Excuse me, Manager. Lisa, could you get rid of that text box in the middle of the screen? That way you can see if anyone else has their hands up. Thank you.
Thanks. Go ahead.
I got Ralph Tillis, 47 Village Hill Road. And reviewing the budget, one of the reductions in the request, not a cut. A cut is when we go backwards, like we did last year with the total government budget. We actually reduced the budget from the previous year, so we've got a lot of makeup to do. But when I look at the public works budget and the condition of our roads in town, I hope you realize that to pave a mile of road with an 1.5-inch asphalt overlay is $320,000 for each public works. And that number is going to go up because of all of the activity in the Middle East and the impact on petroleum prices. I just hope that, I know that the Board of Selectmen reduced that portion of the budget substantially, and then you folks, in the last meeting, I believe, took another 100 and some odd thousand out of that increase. That's great. So We can let the Board of Ed have what they want, but we won't have any roads to drive on with the school buses to get the kids to school. Or they're going to be very dangerous roads if we don't do some regular maintenance on the roads. We have about 62 miles of paved roads in the town. Ideally, good management plan on that would be to improve, resurface, whatever, about 7 miles a year. That way we can get onto a 10-year cycle. We can't even do a mile this budget this year. So please reconsider that reduction that you all wanted to put in place at the last meeting. Thank you.
All right. Is there anyone else? Okay. Seeing none. Going to start with the return to the agenda here. And first up is an update on the budget revenues and costs as they now stand. Mike, would you like to speak first, or should I go to Phil first? Or
I can start if you want.
okay.
So do you want just kind of a general status of where we are on?
Yeah, and if anything's, well, the insurance, anything that's happened in the last week especially.
I'll save the insurance news for my last comment because it's moving in a positive direction, so I'll end on a high note then.
Oh, great.
First, just some clarifications, just so that we have the record straight, from some comments before. The salt budget has not decreased year over year. The salt budget has been increased by $35,000 where it stands right now, as of coming into this meeting tonight. I think we should be thoughtful during this meeting. We've got more conversations coming up about offsets in this meeting tonight. Particularly, there'll be something that Chief Moore is going to talk about with the ambulance salary, and had a lot of discussion with Sherry and with the departments like the library who are dealing with this situation where you went down last year by applying an offset to the budget, which was in their case, it was their privately held money. And so you created what looks like an artificially lower budget, makes a bigger percent decline back up this year. So I think we should make sure we're clear as we go through the deliberations tonight on the offsets and how we're applying them. I would suggest we look at them more like a revenue offset as opposed to bringing down the original expense budget. I think it's clearer transparency to the people if they know what the expense budget actually is for a particular department. Like using the fire department from last year as an example, the ambulance budget, there was an offset used against it. So it made the ambulance salary look lower than it really was. We actually expended more than what the budget shows, but the budget shows it lower because we applied an offset at the beginning. And my mind, and Sherry says she feels she can work with this, we should show what the full cost is. What is the cost of the salary in the ambulance budget? And then show the offset or a revenue against it later in, further down the sheet, however you want to construct it. But I think it's more transparent to see what the real cost of running that department, any one of the departments, is for the budget year, and then show it as a revenue or however we want to show that money coming back in. And we can clearly identify what it is. Like in the ambulance, we take 50,000 from Fund 17, which we sometimes take money from Fund 17 to apply against the salary. Then we should show it later. And then again, you see the true cost, and then you see the offset. I think it's easier for people who don't deal with these budgets every day to understand it. It's hard even for those of us who are dealing with it every day to balance out these offsets and remember, oh yeah, last year that was lower because we put other money into it. So I think we should watch that as we go through the conversation tonight, and maybe even look at a procedural change as we get into the next, after this budget season's over, before we start the next budget season, to, make it even clearer so the public can understand it better and we don't have to wrestle with it so much.
When you say offsets, do you mean savings in a budget year that are abnormal? Like in the ambulance budget, there was less spending because they were having some significant turnover with more experienced people.
Because that's just unspent budget until you finish that budget year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about if we take funds from another place and put it against a budget and make it artificially look lower.
Mhm.
And it's not that we intended to do anything bad, it's just that it creates confusion. Because if the ambulance budget, say the ambulance budget was $100 last year, but we put $25 offset against it, now the ambulance budget looks like it's $75. It wasn't, it was $100. We just had a revenue or an offset or whatever you want to call it that we applied to it.
But
So I
as you
think-
know, we've been decreasing that down to really almost nothing. And we've said at the beginning of the budget season, we don't really want to apply it to payroll. It's.
Yeah, but that's not relevant
That's
to
different.
that.
Yeah.
That's an example of it. I'm just saying what I'm trying to talk about is the procedure.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
procedure
Okay.
should be clearer. What is really the expense?
Okay,
Because if someone looks at this budget 5 years from now, if they look back at the budget from the current fiscal year, they'd say, oh, wow, the ambulance was way cheaper that 1 year. They're
yeah.
not gonna know it was because we artificially
Right.
lowered what looks like the expense is
Right.
lower.
Right,
When the expense really was at a higher level.
yeah. We're seeing it somewhat in Parks and Rec, you mean?
Right.
Like for instance,
Right.
yes, library.
Even the library, technically the library's budget was $50,000 higher.
Right.
But they applied a revenue or whatever you wanna call it as an offset to that. So now it looks like their budget was $50,000 lower. It really wasn't. It just had outside funding or off budget funding or whatever you want to
Well,
call
it
it.
was, yeah, it was transfer out. Right, but yeah,
Yes,
gotcha.
yes.
Gotcha.
So that's gonna come up, through the course of the evening, I think.
Okay,
You can, can I add to that real quick?
sure.
Student superintendent, we do the same thing within our budget. It's not within your budget. You're asking that to happen at the Board of Finance level. So when we present our budget, then we have an offset of $700,000 in grants that we apply to our budget every grant dollar. If we didn't have those grants, it would be in the budget. We show that annually. So if someone comes back to look in 22-23 what the budget was, they can see how much was applied in grants. You're asking the same thing.
Yeah,
Just
for clarity.
tracking on the other side, not on the Zoom.
Mhm.
Budget.
Yeah, sure.
The flip side of that is also true though, and that is if we budget $100 and only 75 gets spent because of staffing changes or because something comes up, that extra 25 goes into the fund balance and it sits there and it accrues. And then so it's actually money we've collected that we then in a future year we have a responsibility to try to use that.
Yes.
And not have it sit there.
Yes, I think that's another process related, but I think that's another process. If we get to the end of the fiscal year, like in this current fiscal year, Chief Moore is going to talk about salary savings because of the change in staffing, when he gets to his part. And that salary savings should get accounted for. You're absolutely right. And it should show that budget went under budget for that year. And there should be a story why it was under budget that year. And then we address where the funds go. And in a lot of departments, unfunded spends just roll back into the general fund. You close, in August or whatever, you close the department's budget, you close the year, the previous fiscal year, that money goes back into the general fund. Doesn't happen the same way with the transfer outs. And it's different in some transfer outs because like the fire department operational budgets, that money doesn't actually leave this building, even though it shows as a transfer out. It doesn't leave this building unless they submit a bill. But that gets put in a different fund. So again, that's what I'm saying is there's a lot of confusion. And it takes us all years to learn this. It shouldn't take us years to learn it. It should be more transparent. People who work on it every day should be able to figure it out, and the public should be able to figure it out better. If it's taking us years to learn it, then the public's at a disadvantage. So I'm just, anyway, I don't want to spend too much time on that particular topic. Just a couple items on the schools. I think it was mentioned already. There are identified staff reductions, but that is counting on being in one building. So that's different from the conversation we're talking about the budget year, this year. So there are, as I spend more and more time in this building, there are people all throughout this process who are spending a ton of time on this and digging in. And I am even more aware of not only how complicated it is, but why we keep losing people to other towns. because we can't pay what bigger towns can pay, and that's appropriate, we can't pay it, but I just want to assure everyone that even though we are getting our employees essentially for a budget deal compared to other places, we're not getting less work and we're not getting less commitment out of these people. And, you know, for example, we're talking about administration in the schools. It's true, like Tolland has one superintendent, Willington has one superintendent, but Tolland also has a principal and a vice principal in every school. So the size of the town, things vary by the size of the town too. And so there is a lot of, the bigger the town, more administration. Where was I? Oh, okay. So I appreciate, back to the people, I appreciate that the public is questioning us. I think not only does the public have a right, they essentially have a responsibility to question all of us, or, you know, whether it's me working in the building, you on the board, Phil, you know, overseeing the school system. I think we should all be questioned. I think we should be challenged. Sometimes when I get challenged on something that I'm sure I'm right about, someone else points out a new view of it to me, and I find a new way, learn new something. I've a couple times found money that I was sure wasn't there until someone else said, hey, let's look at it this way. So I think it's good that people are here tonight and in these meetings questioning us, challenging us. I would say I don't appreciate sort of the attack mentality some people have. That makes it feel personal, and that also makes it harder for us to retain people when we already can't pay them enough. Everybody's committed to doing the right thing. The premise of like fiscal irresponsibility, I think, is preposterous. Even to the point where I have heard at 2 meetings now where people's salaries are being misrepresented. People are, I think at the school building committee, the meeting the other night, I heard Phil's $180,000 salary. It's not a salary. It's inflated by tens of thousands of dollars. So I think the personal attack stuff is not getting us anywhere and potentially hurts the people who are trying to help the town. So I think we should put our focus on challenging the numbers, challenging the programs, challenging the work we do, but not the personal attacks. Last, slightly better information is we've talked about this insurance disaster we've been having. As you know, the insurance came in originally at a 32.4% increase. We adjusted it previous to this meeting down to 25% because we're getting new information coming in. We had meetings, I think we've had 2 or 3 Zoom meetings and multiple phone calls and email meetings with our agent over the last few days. At 6:31 p.m. today, we got an updated pricing again, even though the bids had already come in. Now the company is coming back saying, well, we can bring a little more down. We can bring a little more here. So it was 32.4, then it was 25. As of 6:31 this afternoon, we're down to a number that's about 20% increase. It's still terrible, 20% increase. But we've pulled back 12.4%, I guess. And it was too late for us to adjust numbers for tonight. And we can't just take that straight percentage off because different people apply differently. And, you know, some people have a family policy, some people have employee only, some people have dental, some people don't take dental. So we need time to do the math and see where it actually comes out. But it's a fair estimate, and Phil will speak also during the school portion about this. It's fair to say that we're now at the 20% increase line. And it'll take a few days to get all the calculations done, but they won't be more than that. I think the calculations will grind us down a little below the 20%, hopefully.
Well, I think we weighed all of your comments very seriously, but you buried the lead for sure.
I wanted to save the sort of good news in the end. So those are all the updates that I have. Do you have anything you want to add for updates?
No.
Okay.
You can speak up at will during the meeting, Sherry. Are there questions from the board for Mike before we have Phil speak?
Well, what's the dollar equivalent? Or first of all, what we have here is the 25% is baked in.
The 25% is baked into what you have.
Okay,
So,
Yeah, and that's the one I have also, that this new number was 6:30 this afternoon, so.
so 20%, what's the delta in the actual real number?
What's that?
I don't know yours. I only know mine.
I think in the total overall package, the combined, it was about $25,000 improvement.
no, it would be, it would
We
be
looked
more,
at a lot of
it would be
numbers.
more in Phil. If we're talking health insurance, right?
Yeah, 12.
Yeah, significantly more in the school because they have more
Yeah,
employees.
so the Board of Ed's medical went from going from 32.4 just the medical line to 25.7 is a savings of 90,128. We actually went back and Stacy put in some significant time for us in the business office. And we have double and triple checked this. We redid our census, which is the group that takes insurance, to make sure that since December, any changes were reflected. And so the savings is you can take off 90,128 off of the number that was sent to you from the board. The last one that was approved, the scenarios I gave you last time that showed, I think it was scenario 2, showed an $88,000 savings. This is 90. So scenario 2 is very close to this, and maybe we're going to see some more, hopefully, once we dig into what was sent today.
So it's 90 before the 6:30 news.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And so the Board of Ed budget is $10,804,175. And went from I think an 878 to a 788. It's 789,000.
You guys got that this afternoon?
Yeah, that's
That change, but it will be greater than that. It's just somewhat
savings greater.
savings greater.
Yes, we just don't know exactly what that looks like yet.
Okay. Bill, did you have something, anything else you
That
wanted
is all
to
I
say?
have.
Okay.
Yep.
So I'm just, I don't know, should we go to Chief Moore now, or do you wanna, start
I
in
have something for Phil. So Phil, did you get an opportunity to see the paperwork that Jamie's given to us? So. This is red right here. This is Lisa's copy. She needs it back.
There's a copy over here.
Oh, there is.
There's an extra one, right?
There you go.
Jason, isn't that an extra?
No, this one. That's yours.
I'll get that.
There's something.
Okay.
I tried. Here you can have that.
That's the extra copy.
No, I was in for him.
Yes, we'll get it.
Okay. I think that's what is Phil just seeing it now for the first time?
Yes.
Okay, because we just heard it present to speak.
Right.
I just want to say, I mean, I appreciate all the work that you did on that. It's really very hard for us to factor anything like that in tonight.
Well, I
It's-
just want to clarify that I did do an FOIA for the salary data, so
Okay.
despite what he is accusing me of, I did nothing.
I don't think anyone's accusing you.
Well,
of-
I mean, he's saying it's inflated, it's not.
Okay.
I believe that she had made a freedom of information request to get this information.
She just said that. She
Can I
just said
clarify that?
Yes.
She has the accurate information. There was a different individual who said, I make $180,000. I do not. Ms. Colbrecht has accurate information on my salary.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's clarifying a lot of things that I don't think this board is as heard directly, so.
I'm just not sure what it has to do with, like, I know we have to come up with a number that's gonna reduce the Board of Ed budget, no doubt. But we don't get into line item stuff. It's not really our purview. And yes, it's interesting to us, and yes, we need to understand all of it, but, we can't.
Oh, yeah, well, we don't
I
have
agree.
to do a line item, but we can take the figures that are there as far as the bottom line goes.
Well, we're seeing it for the first time
I'm just
now.
saying for
Maybe if
consideration.
it was submitted, yes, but
That's also what we have a board.
that's what we have a structure where we have numbers and data that are done by the first
Official
selectman and
information.
superintendent and the board of ed. That's official.
This just came from the office.
Well, it's somebody putting numbers together.
They're analyzing numbers that they got in an FOI. I understand that with a point of view, and we listened to that and factored it in. But as far as the documentation and numbers, that's at appropriation night stage. That's nothing that I can extrapolate from and feel like we're being fiscally responsible.
Maybe.
I mean, I would, definitely, if you want to make an argument while we're appropriating,
Definitely.
please do.
Can I just clarify now that I'm looking at this?
Yeah.
I don't make $184,000. I make $165,000 on my salary. So that is not right on here.
Well, there is the $5,500.
I'm gonna address you.
This doesn't feel fair.
It doesn't feel fair to me the way it's like coming from, something that this board has never had as data. Kind of from left field, because I know that you are careful with what you did, but you have a point of view. We just don't, we've got to start talking. This board has to start deliberating. And so right now, I think we should cut off any back and forth with the public. Unless they're representing a board that we need to ask a question of. Thank you. Okay, having said that, I think we should, I think we could hear from Chief Smore and information because you're kind of in the same categories, Phil and Mike giving us updates. And we did ask for it last week. Thank you.
I did provide the two scenarios, Stan.
Thank you.
I did provide the two scenarios that you guys have requested, the $50,000 and the $25,000.
Mm-hmm.
The $50,000 reduction would be 2,050 part-time or per diem hours. It equates to we lose one full day of coverage a week with nobody on. And then also potential loss when you times how many calls we do that kind of per day is based on our average recovery. About $35,616 less revenue than Fund 70. Plus the safety concerns of delayed or limited response fire and response. $25,000 is half of that, so $1,100. It will affect Fund 17 a little bit different because we're going to pay one person to be there, and they're not going to get the if they don't get the ambulance out, they're not making any revenue off of it. And it leaves the safety concern of there just being one person in the firehouse or one person responding to calls. I did put in there at the bottom just a couple of quick notes. Wellington Emergency Services cannot reduce our paid personnel. If you take both departments together and it's not Wellington, it's as a whole, we're averaging for an EMS call in town, and we use in-town calls only of a response of 2.1 people to a medical emergency. 95% of that time is the two people on the ambulance. Then our volunteers plus Wellington Hills volunteers, the numbers are really low of people going to calls. Two people do not make a fire department for either one of us. Losing a person isn't beneficial to anything. On the right side, working with Stacy a lot this week, there's about a $93,000 savings in this year's payroll because of lack of staffing at the beginning of the year. There was a retirement.
How much was that again?
93,112. We lost two of our senior employees that were calculated in this budget. There was initially planned for 4 people to be on the insurance plan. We still do not have a 4th person on insurance. They've waived their insurance. So there was a significant savings. Stacy put a lot of hours into, and a lot of back and forth between Mike, Stacy, Sherry, and I of trying to make sure that we had this correct.
Until about midnight last night, I think.
Yeah. I think that was the last email with Stacy. But 90,000 is what we're projecting in savings for this year. We are working with the union for next year's insurance plan, trying to start it early. There's a plan through the IFF, which they're a part of, trust, but has potential another savings, but we don't have that number. We won't have that number for weeks.
What is that?
For health insurance.
Okay,
It's through their union. It saves. Some other departments have had really good success of big savings. I just won't have numbers for that for weeks.
are you saying from your budget request, you can project a $93,000?
$93,000, well, off of this year's budget, this current fiscal year, we're going to have a $93,000 savings. How you would like to apply that
Okay,
goes to this board.
and, okay, so
What I would hate to do at this
26,
point
maybe.
is reduce that top number.
Okay.
Mike had said earlier, I don't want to reduce that top number because then we're in the same battle next year of trying to find out how to get back up.
And because that money is currently in the current fiscal year budget, it's not technically available unless the board does a transfer or something like that, because it's in the current approved budget. It's functionally, it's available to this budget. So if we were to realize, which we have done, Donna has come to this board before with transfers at the end of the year. We know we're not going to spend all the insurance lines, so we have 30,000 we can transfer or whatever. And once we're kind of clear on how this will go, just like we did with the projects we closed out last week, and just like Donna used to do, we can bring you suggested motions, and all that. We just have to make sure that we do it properly, because it is in the current year approved budget. It's not cash available right now unless it gets transferred from.
And it's in the general fund.
It's in,
50,000, if they haven't made the transfer, there's 50,000 in the general fund. Right?
Yeah, I mean.
So are we already counting it though as fund balance? That,
No.
we're not double counting it?
No.
Not till the end of the year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fund balance does not get added to unless you've closed something and cleared it out of the budget.
Okay.
Unspent money is considered almost like it's encumbered, even though it wouldn't show on a budget as encumbered.
Yeah.
Because it's in this year's budget, it's not available, it's not in the fund balance.
So,
The
but
dollars might be sitting in the same bank account,
yeah,
but by accounting, they're not available.
and by project, when, I'm just worried about the projection, because we're basing what we're gonna use for fund balance off of what that projection is. So if
Yes.
we're counting that 93 in the mix of what that projection is, then we're starting from wrong.
Well, no, and that is a fair calculation to make, because we are clear that $93,000 is available. It's, will be available.
Yeah.
It's just not technically available right now because it's in a budget.
Yeah.
So just as Donna would do in the past, when she would have the board do a transfer for unspent funds from a line, that didn't create a new adjusted budget for that line or anything. It would just be a transfer of that money out of that line as an accounting function. And it would move that money into either another place specific or into available by putting it in the general fund.
But those usually weren't that large.
Sometimes they were $30,000, at the end of the year because of unspent insurance money, things
Right,
like
but
that.
not approaching 100K, I don't.
Right. So I think it's fair for you to consider the $93,000 would end up at the end of this fiscal year into the general fund, and you could instruct that that's what that the board wants that to happen. And then we'll produce the motions, make sure we get it set up properly accounting wise. And then you could make that transfer, which we typically do June, July, as the August, as they close out and the money goes in. As they know they've closed out the previous fiscal year's budget, and they know what money is available. We just are seeing, it's a forecast ahead that we know this is going to be available, and it's a firm number.
And this would be calculated in with the mill rate and everything, and
Could do that in the deliberations tonight. You could say, well, we want to factor in that, like if we apply that 93,000 in the calculator at the where we transfer money from the general fund to apply, we could apply another $93,000 for the conversation. And just, you could.
From the reserve fund, essentially, this money's gonna go at the end of the
Because
year.
you're not actually moving the money tonight, you're just building a budget,
Right.
right? The money becomes available at the end of the fiscal year, you do a transfer, now it's in the general fund.
But that doesn't directly address.
It does because it gives us that additional money, so, I mean, we can consider it an offset for this. But yes, their budget's still gonna look higher. But again, do we really wanna have no coverage on sometimes during the week?
I guess what I'm wondering about is what does it do to the ambulance budget in fiscal year 27 if we carry over the same?
Well, I think this is where we have to be careful how we look at it, right? And so it's clear. The conversation, it's a two-part conversation. The conversation about what is right for the budget has to be what is right for the budget. Do you feel like what you've been asked to fund for this program, any of the programs, is appropriate, fiscally prudent or whatever, and you consider all the things. Consider the revenue being brought in by the ambulance, consider the salary savings. You can consider all those things and decide how much they matter, weigh them. But again, I think we have to be careful to keep this available money to understand where it is. I think if we plan it as applied fund balance, then it helps in the taxation by reducing the need for taxation. In the meantime, separately, you can consider what you think the appropriate expense budget is for the ambulance salary. If you think it should be more or less or exactly as they requested, that's its own conversation. Just knowing that there's money coming back in, which will help with the effect on taxation. Like getting a $93,000 grant.
After really taking a hard look at the 50,000, we're really nervous of making sure that in a reality. The idea of not having somebody at all going to a call is pretty scary.
I'm just wondering, are we gonna have that same conversation? I'm just not sure how I'm understanding the math. Are we gonna have that same conversation in 27?
Right, but the point is, if they get funded with this 50 in there, and we apply
No, I
fund balance,
understand that.
just like the Board of Finance has done for many years of the past years, taking money from the fund balance, because we had a little extra money to bring the taxes
No, I
down,
understand.
that's all we're doing.
Yeah, except that our fund balance is not naturally building right now. It's flat.
Right.
You guys closed out projects to add close to 200K, 110, which we already knew about, and all, which Jim made the point of, reduces the CIP coffers. So we're already putting that in the fund balance this year. But we're at a 10% fund balance or slightly under that.
Yeah,
Right
just,
now,
but just keep in
before we
mind,
do
this
it.
$93,000 is going back into the general fund at the end of the fiscal year anyway, because it will be unspent salary money. So you're getting the $93,000 back no matter what. It's just a matter of, do we plan for it right now? We know it's coming, it's a forecast.
Right.
So it's advantageous to know that extra 93,000 is gonna end up in the fund balance. Just as Donna would do as she was getting to the end of the year and see that some people didn't take insurance and we budgeted for it. So now we're gonna move that money to the fund balance or transfer it to another project or whatever.
My only other comment would be is that we have 93,000, we know that. Is not applying all of the 93,000 per year. So that we don't have if we have to find time next year, we have to use 50,000 and there's another 40 for help for next year, or however that works out. And you guys know the numbers a lot better on that side than I do, but that may be one way to look at it.
Well, actually, yours are new because you've had almost complete turnover among your full timers.
Right.
So,
We had three
and
years
a new
ago.
contract that's front loaded with the 15% adjustment, which is why we asked for you to go through this exercise.
I understand.
Yeah.
But
Understood. I get what you're saying, and I'm appreciative that you don't want to see a situation like that evolve.
So
We are working on other ways, I'm sorry.
No, but
We are, the insurance, and if we can get that to come to fruition, that's just another stage.
Okay,
But we are doing every step we can to try to find efficiencies and.
we'll keep in touch then. Thank you, Alex. I appreciate it.
I guess another way to look at it is if the board is considering their request, their overall request before you apply the potential 50%, or as it is for discussion, the 50% is in here. I mean, 50,000, sorry. If you first consider what's the validity of the request for the expense, and then if you feel like it's valid, but we really need $50,000 from somewhere, you could then decide if the fact that 93,000 is going back into the general fund resolves that. The advantage here is if you keep the request at the same place, it goes with what I was talking about before, where you're actually seeing the cost of the program. If you determine the program should get cut back and they should cover less hours, then you make a cut. And say this is because we think the program needs to be cut as opposed to the budget for the program, right? I guess that's another way of thinking about it.
Thank you. Thank you all. Okay. I'm gonna start us discussing deliberations and asking people what they're.
Oh, wasn't Sherry supposed to speak?
No, she said she didn't have anything to say at this time, and I asked her to feel free to, to help us with keeping our facts straight as we go along. Thank you. Okay. So, moving on to discussions. So opening it up to the board if they want to jump in and say anything. I just want to start out by saying, just for how this year differs, just a little bit of a context here. Our fund balance is at 10%. That's right in the mid-range of what we've always kept it at. But frankly, it's pretty much set on the low end. We usually try to keep between 8 and 12% fund balance. We're at 10 for starters, until some projects were closed out, added a little more in that's available to put into the formula when we ultimately figure out what the impact's going to be overall. There are some who feel like 10% is already a low fund balance. It's certainly not the federal standard for emergency situations for a town operation. It covers us for, I believe, 1.5 months, something like that, of operation if something unforeseen falls on us. And that's usually they want you to keep 2 or 3 months worth of operating capital, operating. So there's that. And then there's a lot of the increases were double digits. A lot of our contractual is increased, has been pointed out in present to speak and in past meetings, but a lot of our contracts are everything from 10%, on up to, 32.4% for insurance, which is now a better number, but still still 20%, maybe 20% plus is what we've got figured. Anyway, I think it's a budget year where, because of last year with some things that were done differently, the way vehicles are now valued in a different fashion. It's reduced the amount of revenue we get from vehicles as property tax. We had a reval last year, a 6-year reval. We'll have another one in 4 years since we robbed a 5th year to go for 6 years because of the pandemic. So now we have a situation where coming into this budget year, we usually have several hundred thousand as a fund balance. We really didn't have much wiggle room. We have the closed projects that gives us a little relief, but not a ton. So the question is, how much do we want to project into the future and say, we're going to have another 90 coming down the pipe, not knowing what the beginning of fiscal year 20, when we're doing the budget for fiscal year 28, what that's gonna look like with the help of the fund balance. So, there's a lot of unknowns. There's a lot of increases. We're definitely not seeing any increases running town governments and schools that are anywhere near 3%. So, except the payroll is right around there. And it's, not something that, there's so many other costs, that are way above there. So I think it's to say, oh, we can keep it at 2.8 or 3% is, especially when fuel prices and groceries are changing under our feet because we're in war. So, that's the context I see. It's a lot, lower numbers than I've seen, and I've been on the Board of Finance.
Lower revenue.
Lower revenue, flattened out revenue. I've been on it for 7 years, so. Anyway, that doesn't mean I have full context, but that's a little more than 2 years. So, so having said that, what are your thoughts?
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we're currently at 6.2% increase. What was that in mill rate? Just for.
Actually, we're currently at 5.8.
So 5.8, what's that?
And we're at, 2.
Is that with the insurance line?
That is with the insurance at 25%.
Okay.
So
We haven't made the further reduction yet because we just got those numbers.
show 6.2 that we got tonight.
What line are you looking at?
Page 11.
Page 11. The very bottom line?
Yeah.
5.8.
Oh,
6.2.
so what changed?
And I did the math on the 1361998. If you subtract
You're right.
if you just subtract this year's from last year's, it's $31,000 off. So I don't know but that can't be the difference.
What did you just say? Yeah.
I don't know.
Where did you get that number from?
Okay, so I just looked at the 23,180. That is at the very bottom of 11,
Yeah, the budget
Yeah.
request.
the budget request. If you subtract what it was in this current fiscal year, which was 21,787,500.
Yeah.
Actually, the actual is the 21,818, the adjusted. You have to go by the adjusted.
Oh, that's the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
that
Yes,
is.
Okay.
yes.
Well, Sherry and I were talking about that earlier.
Your bottom of the budget request line should be 23090,370. Which is the bottom line of page 11, 1, 2, 3 columns left from the right edge.
What was that figure?
23090,370.
So this sheet that we got is not the most updated then?
Well, they had 6:30 tonight.
No, this doesn't include that.
I don't know what that source is when that was produced.
Okay,
This is today's.
Well,
okay.
this was 324.6.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, this is.
It was
printed today at 2.
What's the mill rate at 5.8?
2.8 brings the mill rate to 28.35, which is a 2.93 increase.
Okay.
2.93 mils.
So just for the sake of argument, what's a 4.5% increase look like?
Hang on, we do a little math here.
Okay.
That would give us a mill rate of 28.35, which is an increase.
The old one.
No, wait, nope, I did it wrong. Hold on.
Maybe I could produce the same number I have. The change would be 981, 832.50, and the delta would be 290,038.
Yeah, decrease in.
So that would be the, yeah, so that would be the 4.5%.
So what is the mill right there?
Is it 2.27?
We're getting there.
Yeah.
I mean, 2.27 mils.
Yeah.
That's 1% of that.
It takes a minute because the spreadsheet has all the formulas in it. Now we're overriding the formulas
I know.
to force our own number into it.
Yeah,
90,388.
All right, that brings it down to a mill rate of 27.90, which is an increase of 2.48 mils.
2.48, what would that look like on our example of $200,000 house?
Or an increase of $497.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone want to open?
So if we wanted to get down to a 3% increase overall, we're talking about a 2.8, over 2.8% cut. Because we're at 5.8?
Yeah.
What, 2.8% cut?
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
And that's approximately.
If you wanna get down to a 3% increase, we would need to reduce the budget by $757,443.
750 what?
757,443.
Thank you.
And the mill rate on that?
Yeah.
The mill rate would be 27.19, and the increase would be 1.77 mils.
What would it be? The mill rate, the mill rate, not the.
The mill rate would be 27.19.
Right, and the mill rate, I mean, mills increase.
The mill's increase would be 1.77.
Thank you. Okay.
All right, so to summarize, based on what has been requested, we reduced it, we didn't reduce it. We've asked for some changes and some things have naturally happened, but we're down.
Is that someone's fault?
It's somebody's fault.
What are we down?
It went from 6.2 to 5.8, that's what we said.
Yeah, 5.8.
Yeah. But it was,
I think.
oh, this is what I'm looking for. So
That would just.
we're already down 568 from what was requested.
That's including the 50,000 from the ambulance, and I think we should take that out.
Yeah.
So,
Wasn't it 518, taken out?
518, yeah.
518
Yes.
Yeah.
was our reduction.
Right.
We kept.
518, 582 is what I think we should show on what we've already cut, or what we've already put placeholders in to cut.
To get to 5.8. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
But they've already grown some of the insurance savings in, most of it. All of it, 2 point, whatever it was, from the, they granted 25%.
You got 5%.
Of where the number.
Yeah, we're gonna get another 5%, right? We just don't know exactly what that is yet.
Yeah, so what you were saying is without considering the 50,000 for the ambulance, you were at 518, right?
Right.
Yes, yep, that agrees with our numbers here.
Yeah,
And then to get to 4.5%, you gotta come up with another 290,000. To reduce,
To get to 4.5.
to get to 4.5.
What did you say?
I hate to go into this CIP, but I think, we have so many budgets that we're just panicked over, you know, the library, the fire department, the schools, the town budgets, salt, everything. That I think we might need to consider some of the CIP. All right, Jim. The things we're trying to apply for savings, and I know we have to look down the road and we have to have that money. I'm not saying take it all out, but maybe we can reduce some of that.
reduce some of the CIP or some of the, are you talking about public works?
No, CIP.
Okay.
Right. Just remember that in making that change, if we were to try to get back to spending in a future year, then it's a tax increase.
I know.
And I get it, and I understand where you're at, but that's the other side of the coin that people need to understand.
Like cutting teachers and cutting library days open and, yeah.
The other thing I want to clarify too is the reason that the town side or the town government side of the budget was so low last year when we went down so low, really too low for sustaining a town. That was, a crazy pre-referendum process. So that puts us in worse shape this year. That's one of the reasons we're kind of flat already. But what Jim's saying is right. Most of it was that getting down that low CIP.
Yeah, this is the
Most
third
of it
year
was
about where
CIP.
CIP cuts to town savings has basically hidden increases in operational expenses. It's unsustainable in the long run, but it's a year by year situation.
We are heading into a process where we sort of started the savings plan several years ago, and we're heading into a time where I think the thinking though is that we're in pretty good stead for a projected school project where we are. So there is that.
Steph, I'd like to comment, I think the CIP being flat this year is great.
I do too.
And I don't, just like my other conversations about bringing budgets under and then having to climb back up. I don't think in the long term, I don't think it's good fiscal to be cutting it further back. However, I think the prudency this year is that we're just out of money. And when we're talking about cutting jobs, I think, unfortunately, I think we have to dent the savings a little bit
I do too.
when we're talking about jobs. I don't want to cut the savings plan at all. But I think, if, as I've already expressed to you, and I know this, none of these things will be popular with certain people, in town. There's people who have different budgets that they are very much in favor of. We have $125,000 in the open space fund right now, which is important money to have because if something comes available, the open space, the ability to purchase, not only do they need to have some money available, but they also have to have money to do negotiating. If something comes available and they have no money and they have to go to a town meeting, they lose the ability to negotiate. However, because we have $125,000 already in the open space fund, I'm not sure I see the prudence of adding another $40,000 to that fund this year when we're talking about people losing jobs. Again, I hate to cut into CIP. I hate to cut
Yeah, and
into
that's not where the
savings plan.
big money is in CIP.
What's that?
That's not where the big money is. And if we're talking hundreds of thousands to try to, as additional cuts right now.
Well, I'm
before we
talking
can appropriate.
$40,000.
Right.
So $40,000 is a big chunk, and when you're putting it in savings for land, when we already have $125,000 in there, I just think it might be, we've done other adjustments that are $5,000. So if we get $40,000, that's a big adjustment when we're trying to come up with 290 at least or more.
I would just caution against going to zero on any of these, any of that, because getting it to go back to anything is.
Well, you're only going to zero on the transfer to the open space. You're not going to zero on the CIP plan.
No,
The CIP plan varies all over the place depending on
Right,
the
but
year and the project.
Yes, the point is, for years, they tried to get money from the town for open space, and for years, we would never put it in the budget.
Right.
So I would like to see a reduction, but maybe not to zero.
Not yet.
Leave something in there.
All right, but my point is there's $125,000 in there that we are saving.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of money to buy land. That's a lot of money to, when you're talking about open land, $125,000 gets you well into the conversation or buys you. We've bought a lot of land with money like that already. I think it's not the right year to move that account up to 165 when we're talking about losing jobs. That's my feeling.
Okay.
Maybe reduce it down. So there's something in there?
Yeah.
If we can get some other numbers.
Yeah, I just, putting in zero means it's never gonna get any.
I think we have to, I think, before we go to some of the smaller increases, we need to talk about the large ones, and frankly, CIP is one of them, but so is the Board of Ed. So I think, are you guys ready to talk about the Board of Ed, or,
Make a decision about the.
CIP transfer, Board of Ed, or?
Oh, do you want to talk about the CIP transfer first?
I already
We're on the topic,
Yeah. I think it may have to be more than, I think I would leave 20,000 in the open space is my view. And then look at, the school reserve, which was, I think you guys added, but you did stay flat. I know you added 300 this year to bring it back up.
Yeah, it's sitting at $1 million right now. After reducing it, basically create the savings and
I know.
down budget last year. Which is the problem. And same thing with
I know.
open space, flying it back is
We've
what
on
hard.
CIP even longer than Board of Finance.
And I'll echo my previous comments on that as well. I hate cutting into the school savings. I think it's valuable for us when we come to a point if the people decide to build a school. I don't like the idea of cutting into it, but I think we've got to take some money from them when we're talking about jobs. My own feeling, I'd take 100 from that, I'd take the 40 from the open space. That gets you half of the 290 you need to get to 4.5. Then if we apply the $93,000 to the fund balance from the salary savings, now you're getting close to the 290.
Well, with it
I know how to
being,
get there.
with it being CIP, can't we just give a number and then I mean, it's appropriations night, but we say, we just give a number and then you really, at the Board of Selectmen, decide the final number, right?
So here's the difference. These transfers are specific transfers, so you do have the purview to talk about the specific transfer.
Okay.
Because they have their own line, that's like in this case, that's like a department. You could just tell the Board of Selectmen, you wanna see whatever number come out of the CIP plan, the Board of Selectmen could make the decision. Or where to apply, you could just decide to take it out as a number. But you could also pick, because these are separate lines, I think you can select the lines.
Okay.
I think it should be bigger than 100. I think it should be 200. It's a 200 situation here. I think open space, you want to keep something there because it is valuable to be able to do that. There is money in there. As Mike said, that maybe we should leave like 15 in there or something, just so it doesn't go to zero.
200 gets us a long way towards the 4.5.
Let's earmark that and Perry got somewhat consensus around that.
Just to be clear, that's 200,000 total. Right? That's what you're striving for.
Well, we're not talking about open space, right? We're not, right at this moment, we may revisit it. So what I'm thinking about for school reserve, we are talking about 200. Okay, I think we have to talk about BOE then. Do you guys agree?
Yeah.
Okay.
Stephanie, can I just ask a question? Are we gonna make the adjustment, the 200 just so we can see
Why
what
don't
the
you go
math
ahead and
is?
make it the 200 in school reserve? Yeah, we'll see what the math is for that.
Yeah.
And I think we should.
And 25 from open space, I
25 from
think, that'll leave 15.
No.
Cause it's at 40 now, if we agreed, anyway, if we agree anyway.
I'd rather do it at 20. I would rather leave it at 20. You were saying leave it alone?
I said 15, go down to 15, but.
15 and 20, I mean, either way.
Leave it at 20 for now.
I don't know, I think we should leave open space alone and take it from the school. As far as if they're getting $100 or $1 million, for projects. I say take it from there. As far as open space goes, you have to keep in mind that you're taking space and acreage off of the market. So if that land ends up getting developed, more people move in, they have more kids. It's a bigger strain on the schools, especially with special education and everything. So you're saving money in the long run by keeping it in open space.
But you could say the same about this school, because if whatever project, whether it's repairing schools or whether it's refurbishing a school or whether it's building a new school, we need that money so to make the impact less for bonding and everything else down the road. So that's also just as important.
Yeah.
Open space also takes property off of the tax roll too, so doesn't produce a lot of taxes.
But it's not necessarily building the land, all of it either.
Yeah.
I don't see there are a lot of other pockets to go to. However, there are two things there's one that Human Services and Parks and Rec have both talked about, that this board has already removed some of the increase for Parks and Rec because they put in for it was a 44% increase. That was largely because half of it was fund balance money they had from a transfer out before that was unspent money that they wanted to apply to their budget. What we've recommended is reducing their request by 18,000. I think it's in here somewhere. 18,020 or something.
18,250.
Was that what we did last time?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that all?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I, yeah,
Yeah,
adjusted
it's
last
already
week.
adjusted.
Yeah, that was adjusted last week. That's a placeholder. So my sense on that is, that may be something that we just leave there because they've offered with human and not do this next move. They do some cost sharing between human services and Parks and Rec. They've both said that, they could go down 6,000 because we in part using cannabis money for the summer and spring camps. But they thought that they could still find that much savings. And I got that directly from the Human Services Director, but Parks and Rec is already sustaining a reduction from.
So what are you suggesting, Steph?
I'm suggesting we leave Parks and Rec alone, maybe, or if we wanted to take another, 2,100 out of it or something, we
Stephanie,
could.
maybe I could suggest the weed money would, the cannabis fund money that we can apply that you were just talking
Right,
about.
is
It would
$1,750.
take another $1,750 that could be reduced from Parks and Rec and $1,750 from Human Services. So we could just for the sake of saving that $1,750 here.
Oh, I
you
see what
could
you're
reduce
saying.
Park and Rec another $1,750 because we're gonna apply the cannabis money. Again, we should just be careful about the
Next year.
we're talking about offsets.
Right.
Right. So I wasn't gonna consider that 3,500 as a reduction, but maybe you should. I was thinking, take the 6,000 out of Human Services. We already have a placeholder cut that's, quite a large share of Parks and Rec. But, I don't know, what I don't know is if they can sustain another cut. We could take 1,750 out of that though, I heard.
I don't think it's worth it.
Yeah, I mean, I think you should do what you think is prudent.
Yeah.
I'm just pointing out there's another $3,500 we're gonna get combined.
Right.
But I'm not sure that we should show it further
On the
reducing
budget.
their budget, or
Right.
we should show it as essentially new revenue.
Right, I was
It's grant
thinking.
funding sort of, does it completely off budget,
Okay.
it's not
So are
taxpayer.
is Walter agreeing with that?
Yeah, I don't wanna take
Don't
more
add the
from
3,500.
Okay, so
But they've
we'll
already
show
said
it,
in front, they can go down 6,000.
we'll show it in accounting during the fiscal year.
Who said they can go down 6,000?
The Director of Human Services.
I know, we said multiple departments, so I'm
Yeah,
just trying
so
to
I'm
keep track.
thinking, yeah. I'm
Did you get
thinking we
that?
reduce that one, 6,000. Okay. And then, I think we have to, so with those two placeholders, should we move to, are there other departments you want to talk about before we go to Board of Ed?
Do we want to talk about the library anymore?
What we have in there now is restoring, because they used 43,000 from savings, they used 7,000 of receipts and everything. They didn't, so to come up with that 50,000. So we were going to restore the 7,000 plus attach a 3% growth increase on their starting budget. That I think, what was the number that we have in there?
The number we have is an increase of 13,657.
Okay, and the reduction was,
So
it's in your, yeah.
then we reduced $45,207 from the original.
Because they were asking to restore the full 50 plus, about a 6% increase or something
Yeah.
beyond that, I think, yeah. I don't see how we can restore the 50,000. It's the same thing that I'm worried about with with some of the cutting we're already talking about this year. you know, particularly like if we were to do that on the ambulance, it'd be the same hole to climb out of for them.
You go over senior center yet?
Have we went?
Have we gone over senior center?
Senior center, I believe we took, Sherry, 6,000 out of the senior center request, right? Is what we have.
Yep. You wanna take 6,000 out of?
No, that's what we have already.
Oh, previously.
Yeah, that's what we have already.
Senior center, yes, 6,000.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I got. Yeah. And
Just for reference, you're at 4.8% increase now.
With those,
There's three, which is 2.58 mils increase. From current.
2.1 mil.
2.58 mil increase.
okay. Well, the Board of Ed has given us a sort of, you know, descending order of priorities. It does not start out with staff. It starts out with cutting all their discretionary supplies, which is a significant cut, and also their non-lapsing fund, which is 161 right out of the chute. And they actually projected very close to the savings from the insurance money before, but it's been updated today to be everything but the 6:30 news, so we don't have that last little bump in our favor in there. But if you look at their scenario 2, and I think if you go down, I mean, the supplies, pretty much their non-lapsing fund is 161, 463, and then their supplies are, let's see, 24, 6, 25, 31, about 31 and 12, about 40, is that right? About 42,000, 43,000. You think?
So that's very clarifying question.
Yeah.
Is the insurance going to 25.7? Is that's already reflected in your number for the Board of Ed, right?
I put the number in I put it in this afternoon, the
The 90,128.
and I have 10,804,175.
10 million.
10 million.
84,175. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
So say that, so Steph, what do you wanna do?
Well, I'm just trying to capture how much we go down to. Bill also has this salary increase in there. That would be the only one that we're even, you know, looking at townwide, because we didn't think that was a very wise thing to do at this point, to flatten out the salaries. So that's before any positions are compromised. So if we went down, I don't know, Phil, can you help me with a number for that, or should we just calculate from this?
Number from what?
From going down your priority list from the non-lapsing to the supplies.
You asked what your total is, or what the items are, or?
No. Well, I mean,
You were spot on. I think 43,000 was a pretty accurate number from non-lapsing, from the special ed supplies down to district supplies.
mm,
And then my increase there, that was there. And then that's when you get into the South
Okay.
specials.
That's okay.
so currently, Bill, what's your budget increase is still 879,000 increase? Until we redo the insurance?
No, she has it reflected in there and it is a 788 right now, I believe. Yes, 788. That
And that's an
90,000,
increase of how much?
789,000.
Okay.
But we don't know what the real savings is from the 6:30 news yet. We just have it for the, yeah, right. Okay.
What did you say we were at now, 4.8?
So if we,
Yeah, hang on, I'm making a couple other.
so if we cut 200,000 from the board there.
Yeah, I think it's closer to, if we go down to the two openings of the staff support specialists.
Yeah, from his current.
That would take, not including the insurance savings and everything, that would be close to.
It's about 200,000.
About 200,000.
Wage accounting support specialists 2 and 3.
I think the disruption, if you cut those positions on a day-to-day basis, is horrendous.
Those are the open positions that.
How long have they been open?
Well, Bill, you froze those positions in the current budget year. I don't know exactly when.
When we had a retiree, in, I want to say February, we did not fill it because of the budget woes we were having. And we did not fill the other one because of the budget woes we were having.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know
When
what
found about the
impact is right now, or those positions not being filled?
Sure, we're struggling for subs. I have a principal getting paid a bunch of money to do a lunch duty that she wouldn't have to do. She could be in classrooms. Is that what you're asking? Yeah, I mean, that's the impact that those roles are critical. The coverage for PPTs, no meetings are going on. You go into a classroom, that you have that person to grab. That's what the role of those people are.
Well, why just teaching and staff? Why not at the administration end?
I'm not at teaching and staff.
Yeah, but I mean, as far as what you gave us last week, you're looking at releasing teachers and all of these programs and whatnot. What about the administrative end?
I think if you went to one building, you could talk about the administrative end.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think in two buildings you can.
Why can't you talk about it with two buildings when you have such a small student body?
Because it doesn't change the role that you still have to supervise that building. You have to do all the evaluations, all those staff members. Their day is, and beginning to end is loaded. Same thing with pupil service director. She has PPTs and meetings all day long. Those are required things we have to do. When we talk about unfunded mandates, teacher evaluation is part of that.
Mm-hmm. Yes, issues with students, discipline, I mean, I've been in the buildings and the principals are going from here to there all day long,
Yeah.
The way I look at it is we don't have to tell them what positions they can let go. We just give them a figure and they have to deal with it on their end. It's like we asked them to have their budget increases at 4%. I believe that's the letter Steph sent out. Well, nobody did that.
I didn't dictate something. I pointed out what the inflation rate was. I did not dictate that the budgets needed to be at 3%. I think that's artificially done. And I didn't say 4 either.
4%.
I didn't say 4. I didn't give them a percentage number. I said, please be mindful of this. This
That's
is
the letter
what-
that I had seen said 4%.
No, I didn't say 4%.
Steph, if you were willing to take a very brief side trip here,
Yes.
if you applied the $93,000, I'm just rounding off the $93,000 salary savings from the fire department ambulance salary as fund balance into the budget, just like we did with the 191 last week from the closed projects. That takes you down another, takes you a few tenths of a mil down to 2.44 now. Yeah, it takes you down to 2.44 mils increase.
And what's the percent?
It doesn't change the percent because it's not a change of your expense budget, it's an exchange of your revenue.
Oh, yeah.
So your,
But the tax increase would be less.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah,
the impact
I
on
get it.
taxes
Yeah,
is
yeah.
improved. Right.
Yeah.
What are you saying, Mike? Say
So
it again.
if you apply the salary savings we talked about, because that will go into the fund balance at the end of the fiscal year.
Yeah,
If you were to apply this in the budget plan, the $93,000, it reduces the need for taxation, which puts you at a 2.44 mils. You are at 2.58. Applying that 93 gets you down to 2.44.
Okay, but that's like capturing projects and applying it in fund balance. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. In
Which we
addition
did
to
with the 191 already. That's already in here.
Yeah,
Yep. I'm just letting you know where, because it impacts taxation.
right.
I'm just letting you know where.
I understand that, but it's also kind of counting it ahead a little bit. I mean, it's factoring it in ahead. It's basically something that we might need for next year, you know, you know what I mean? I'm kind of mindful.
No, it closes out at June 30th is the end of that
Understood.
money. It
I
closes
understood.
out and that money goes in the general fund.
Okay, so we still start the 26-27 year with the zero padding in the general fund, right?
Well,
As a fund balance, 10%.
Right, you're saying you want to build up the fund balance.
Well, I mean, it's drier than it's been in other years by a significant amount.
So
Yeah,
just as a planning tool, that's where I would put you.
okay.
so I'm just gonna say, what if we cut 200,000 from Board of Ed? Where are we there?
I think we're good with that.
Well,
But if we did, what would it
You
mean?
wanna-
Is what you want to know?
Numbers?
yes, I'd like to know.
Are you
That-
applying the 93 or are we backing out that for now? Okay, so we're gonna let us
No, I was
adjust.
just trying to tell you.
Are you adding the 200 on top of the 90 that's already gone?
Yes.
Yes.
That would bring the percent increase total overall down to 3.9%. And that brings the mill rate to even 28 with a increase of 2.58 mils.
2 point.
Wait, no, I did that wrong,
No.
sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not.
No, I don't.
It always does. Brings the mill rate down to 27.69 and an increase of 2.27 mils.
So what's our example of the house look like?
$455 increase.
What did you say the overall percentage growth or percentage of the budgets would
The
be?
overall percentage would be a 3.9% increase.
And she said 2.27 ounces in town.
Okay. And we have, do we have 200 from the CIP school reserve?
That's all factored in.
Okay.
Was the open space factored in?
The 25,000.
20.
Yeah. 20 or 25?
20. Yeah, there were a lot of numbers, so we picked 20 to sit at until you made a decision.
Yeah.
All right, so it's 20 from open space, 200 from the Board of Ed operating, 200 from the Board of Ed transfer to CIP. And what else did we?
6K from human services.
Okay.
Yeah, and,
Do we take that 1750 from, or not? No, we didn't do
no,
that.
not from rec.
Okay.
No.
I mean, I think there might be a little more room in rec because but I'm not sure because we're already taking, that.
I also made a small adjustment in selectmen. I took $2,090 out of selectmen. I'm gonna, give up my raise this year. I don't think when we're talking about losing jobs, I should take a raise. So we took $2,090 out of there.
And that brings us to 3.9?
Yes, yes.
That's already out, Mike?
Yes.
We just did it.
That's part of the, okay, and that's the 3.9, though?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are you guys thinking? Would you like to say something about Region 19, since you're on the board?
Yes, I would. I would just consider you vote. There's no changes you can make. If there's an updated number on Tuesday, I just want to assure you that the accurate number that you're voting on.
Oh, well, that would be helpful.
It better not be updated up.
It is not updated up.
Cool.
It is updated down very slightly, but it is updated down.
Okay.
Bring it new.
Then carry on.
Yeah.
Willington's share this year is $4,975,893, which is a decrease of about $10,000 from what they proposed. It's 2.45%.
Just to verify, Arthur, 4,975,893.
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, plugging it in.
Going through 15.
And they're at 2.7 in there now, Mike, or I think, or are they sharing?
That's 2.4.
Yeah.
With that change, it's 2.4.
Correct.
Yeah. Were you notified of that already, or is that, okay? What does that do to the overall?
It brings us to a 3.8%.
Okay.
So just real quick, that was voted on Tuesday. It was moved forward to finance. It's not technically official until the first meeting that we have in April, but that voting is just a formality, so that's the number needed.
Thank you. As of 324. Okay. Thank you for the update. Sure. What are we for the bottom line budget number, like the overall?
Overall, the total amount,
Yeah.
22,652,498.
One more time?
22 million?
Yep.
652,498.
That's the overall percent, right?
3.8.
That's down to 3.8, okay.
And that's a 2.19 maybe now?
What is the mills?
It's an increase of 2.27 mils.
Oh.
Wait.
No.
Wait. I have
Updated Region
those
19
numbers
number.
going. I have a couple numbers that don't automatically update for each. No. And Z brings an increased mill rate of 2.26 mils.
Stephanie, have you been updating your motion sheets or not?
Not with everything,
Okay,
yeah.
you want me to start trying to do that based on what you have so far?
Yeah, let's see.
Well, when we make the motions, we can. What we're doing? We don't.
I'm just
No,
gonna write the numbers.
Yeah, yeah, because some of them were,
I think with the increase in costs overall, I mean, we know how much things are going up in electricity and everything else. I think we're gonna be hard pressed to get much lower than this. I mean, we've already just hacked just about everything.
and that's on the school side, that's talking about, let's see. Bill, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but non-lapsing funds and all those standing supplies,
Well,
pretty much.
they'll make that choice, but yeah.
Well, no, I'd like to know how far, you know, that's coming down.
You mean how far? So if the board cuts that, your 200,000 is the full non-lapsing, basically down to just through the district supplies is 205.
Okay.
If that's what they do. That means, and so you're running into this problem with several different groups now, is that the Board of Education has offset their budget with non-lapsing funds each year. That means they'll be offsetting their budget with $260,000 in non-lapsing funds next year. And that means that if they don't have any of that money, that is then in the hole, 260 next year. So the $300,000 of savings we expect to see from the outplacement that will be moving on is now $40,000. Just to be clear. Did that make sense? You want me to explain that?
Yeah. No, we do understand.
Okay.
We start to make some appropriations of the simple ones.
Yeah, a lot of them know what they
Get down to the big ones and see. What's that?
Let's do
Do
it.
we have to make a motion for those cuts?
Yeah, we
Yeah,
make a motions for every
No, I
appropriation.
mean, but you do it in, you do the.
Yeah, the appropriate.
Yeah.
But
I forgot.
I think we could
Yeah, we
let,
got the,
we could leave the big departments still.
For my last meeting, I'm analysis be.
in your packet, we have.
Yeah, I know.
How are we feeling as far as pretty close?
Good, I'm gonna make a motion.
Okay. Go for it.
To accept the budget request for 0121 probate court for $4,142.
Second.
Second.
Oh,
Oh,
okay. Go ahead. We both did. You want it?
You can have it.
You want one of the big ones, don't you? Okay. All in favor?
hi.
Aye. Nay? Abstain? Okay, good.
I'll make a promotion.
Yeah.
To accept the budget request, total 1 through 6 election officials for $76,421.
Second?
Aye. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay.
Bruce, are you voting?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry, I just couldn't hear you.
I make a motion to accept the budget request for 0131 Board of Finance for $3,818.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion, I'll make the motion to request for 0132 treasurer, $12,392.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Okay,
I'll make a motion to accept the budget request for 0133 auditor for $52,900.
I'll second.
all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous on that. Okay. I move to accept the budget request for 0135 Board of Assessment Appeals for $1,707.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay,
Make a motion to accept the budget for 161 Conservation Commission, $1,500.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I shouldn't make a motion this one.
No, you probably shouldn't. Okay, and that does reflect a $543 cut in there, Sherry, right? I should have.
Which does.
Yeah, okay. Move to, accept the budget request for 0171 planning and zoning for $1,601. I'm sorry. What was that? For 161,000, right?
Yeah.
734, that's what I was saying. Oh, 161,734. Sorry.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion to accept the budget request 0172 zoning board of appeals, $5,491.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
A motion to accept the budget request for 0175 economic development for 18,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Motion to accept the budget for 0176 inland wetlands for $2,000.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, do we need to move to accept a zero budget? I guess we can.
What do you want?
So we're on the board of finance contingency, which we really could use.
I mean, I guess you should technically document that you
Yeah, let's
approved it at
do.
zero, yeah.
Move to accept the budget request for 0861 Board of Finance contingency for $0.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. I would say, let's skip Parks and Rec for now. We okay with that? Seems like. Why are we skipping it? Just because we're still kind of discussing we thought we could go ahead. I think we have already, that the number there already factors in, that's the one that was, was wanting to apply money. So we already had a placeholder to cut it down 18,250. And so that number reflects that. It was a 44 increase, that this is now a 24% increase. So, we can, well, at any rate, I just thought maybe we should come back to that one to be sure.
The selectmen one is next. Does that include the salary reduction one?
hang on, I have it, the adjusted number should be 170,302.
No.
Yep.
But is that the full Board of Selectmen or just you?
No.
That is. Well, that's the Board of Selectmen budget, that's the whole department, but the changed number is because I took my raise out.
Right, I guess,
Right.
I'm asking, are the other selectmen also doing that?
I haven't talked to them, I just made that decision tonight.
Okay.
We
I did it of my own accord.
We already had a 1,000 decrease there. And I think that was was that for, is that something to do for the 300?
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Okay.
was already put in, that's
That was
already
already in
included in the number you were seeing.
So this number is now changed to 170,302.
Yes.
I'm not, I mean, I know you're willingly doing that. Is everyone good with that? Cause I already feel like the selectmen's.
Don't try to give me back the raise I'm giving them.
You're not gonna take it?
I'll put it to you this way, I'm not gonna take it, I'm not taking the tax abatement. I'm not taking this raise.
You're just starting out your term, you know?
Well, we're talking about people losing jobs,
I
I
know.
don't feel
I
right,
know.
so that's just the way it's gonna be.
Thank you
If you
for
can
that.
try to give it to me, I'm not gonna take it.
Thank you for that. Thank you. Okay.
So I'll make a motion to accept the budget request for 0111 selectmen for $170,302.
Second,
I'll set, you got it, sorry.
sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Motion to accept the budget request for 0130 accounting services for 316, 352.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Aye, all opposed? Okay. This one, on assessor, I want to reflect that that's reduced, from the original request, 3350, correct, Sherry?
The number I have is a total of 153,482.
That's right. I just wanted to make sure it included that decrease, which the assessor put on the table for a cut, so appreciate that. I'll move to accept the budget request of 0134 assessor for 153,482.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I move to accept the budget request for 0137 revenue collector for $115,691.
Second.
Thank you. That is, by the way, reduced $1,000 on her behalf. I mean, on her say so. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay.
Motion to accept the budget request for 0141 town council, $53,500.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay.
Make a motion to accept the budget request for 0151 town clerk for $127,955.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay.
Motion to accept the budget request for 0181 town office operations, $298,696.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Motion to accept the budget request for 0182 town hall operations for $8,647.
Second. This is for the Old Town Hall. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay.
Motion to accept the budget request for 0183 consulting engineers for 4,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, this next one is senior center. It includes a reduction of 6,000 in this number of 49,054. I just want to verify with Sherry.
Yes.
Is that correct?
That's correct. Got a motion?
I can move to accept the budget request, or did you?
I'll second it.
Okay, of 185 senior center operations for $49,054. Thank you.
Motion to accept the budget request for.
Wait. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thanks.
Motion to accept the budget request for 0233 Health District for $35,168.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion to accept the budget request for 0241 building official for $42,290.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion to accept the budget request for 0311 Public Works. That includes all the adjustments.
Yeah.
$1,706,148.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Stephanie, just one quick note going back on that building official.
Yes.
Just want to point out that is actually a reduction over the current fiscal year.
Okay.
Want to pat myself on the back.
Yeah, was that reduced from the first list? Cause I don't have that as a.
I reduced it at the beginning of the budget process.
Oh, you did? Okay. What was it before?
One.
Okay,
Hey, it's only a $300 reduction. That's not bad.
okay, sorry.
Just trying to keep it
I was
positive
gonna
here.
let you not do that, then you did it. Well, I'm gonna just accept the budget request and move to accept it for 0342 cemetery for $2,000.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed?
$2,000 for my I can remember.
Has it, it's like the
Yeah, it
conservation
was,
budget.
I think it's about, it goes back at least 10 years, maybe 15 years at 2000. It went up from 1,000.
Yeah.
Somewhere around like 15 years ago.
Yeah. You're right.
Yeah, get ready.
3,000 could be coming soon.
Yeah.
Can we go ahead with this? Is this one still under discussion at all? Nope.
No.
Okay, go ahead.
I'll make a motion to accept the budget request for 0351 transfer station for $324,272.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Make a motion to accept the budget request for 0811 social security for $129,490.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, move to accept the budget request for 0821 unemployment for $1,000.
Second.
Give it to Bill or?
Yeah, give it to Bill.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
The next one doesn't need to be adjusted. We don't look.
Yeah, we're gonna leave that one. But
Yeah, we just don't have the numbers yet. Just like all this other stuff, that there may be some little tweaks by the time we come to the budget hearing and all that, but only favorable.
so, this is reduced, this is reduced by 30,833 so far, Sherry. And that's presuming, that,
This is at the 25.7 or whatever, right? That's.
But doesn't this have, or do you do that at the end of the town meeting to make adjustments? I can't remember how that happens. If we don't vote.
Hang on, I just want to get the answer on the number first.
So. Life insurance, Department E31, I have a reduction of 30,833.
Yeah, that's what I have.
Yeah.
And that's
That
in
was
it.
going from the 32.4 increase down to the 25, whatever that we used. And it's gonna go down more, but we just don't have that number yet, so.
Right.
So my question is, if we don't vote on it tonight,
No, vote, you have to appropriate, otherwise it's not in the budget. So you have to appropriate it, and we'll just adjust it later.
that
Between
was my question.
between the public hearing, town meeting, that, in that process there, you can still do more adjustments.
So what's the number we want to use?
Okay.
The number that's in there.
Okay, but that, you said 25, we didn't go down to 22.5?
No, we don't have that number yet.
No, that it hasn't been
Okay.
adjusted yet, because it came in too late.
I thought it was
Well, Phil
down
got
to
his
20.
number right as 20%.
Yeah, Phil
The
incorporated.
22.5
is an overall picture. The actual medical insurance is down to a 25.7 right now. He's got
Okay,
exactly
okay.
that number in there.
You got that
That's
number
what
in
it
there.
is.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Did we move it? We haven't moved it yet. Move to accept the budget request for 0831 employee insurances for $212, $212,580.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Right.
Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, let's see. Motion to accept the budget request for 0841 pension for $31,733.
Second.
Thank you, Walter. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion to accept the budget request of 0851 insurances for $97,136.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Motion to accept the budget request for 0871 miscellaneous for $500.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion to accept the budget for 0910 debt services for $153,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Can we just clarify? It sounded
Yes.
like you said 453,000, I think
I said 100.
for 153,000. Yeah. Yeah. It sounded like you said 453,000.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I said 153.
Oh.
Yeah. Pennsylvania. She said.
153,000 is the correct number.
so 453, I should cross out.
Yes, for sure.
Only 3 zeros.
We're good.
That's a library payment, right?
Yes.
That is the last
There
payment in
is,
library.
in the written motion, there is the word for before the amount.
Yeah.
Did you vote? Was it unanimous?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was unanimous.
Make a motion to accept the budget request for 0930 capital expenditures for $0.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, should we wait on capital reserve?
No, just do it.
No, we have the number.
1450.
Oh.
Should be
What?
1050. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, right?
I'll to accept the budget request for 004, transfer out capital reserve for $1,050,000.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay,
Make a motion to accept the budget request for 0-004 transfer out handicap vehicle.
Second.
$1,000.
Oops, sorry. Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Move to accept the budget. Oh, go ahead, Jake.
Make a motion to accept the budget request for O-004 transfer out housing authority for 2,182.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
I'll move to accept the budget request for 0-004 transfer out fire station project for $32,861.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion to accept the budget request for O-004 transfer out accrued sick days for $10,000.
Certainly.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? What's that? You said aye too. Okay. Motion to accept the budget request for O-004 transfer out dog fund for $27,597.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion to accept the budget request for O-004 transfer out human services for $132,500.
That one,
That should be 126,595.
And for $126,595.
is that, are you sure?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, 6,000.
Yeah, because you took,
Okay, I thought we were.
you took 6,000
I thought
from
we were
human services, right?
65, but okay. That's all right.
Need a second?
Second.
Did you move that?
I did.
Okay. And you second,
Yeah.
I mean. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Did you oppose? Okay.
Yeah, the next one, what's the new number? Number 20?
That's what we, all right, that's what I agree.
Should be 20.
Yeah.
Do you guys have 20,000 decrease in open space?
Right.
Transfer out?
Motion to accept the budget request for O-004 transfer out open space for 20,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. You want to come back or?
Is that where we're at?
I think so.
Or let's go with so.
Yeah, Sherry, the library transfer out is from their ask, which restored the 50,000. What do you have?
Are we restoring?
No.
Oh.
No, what their request included restoring it. So from that request, what do you have? Reduction.
So
Is that included in that?
I reduced,
I have 45,207.
I reduced it by 43,000 and added 3% of their budget from last year.
So what's the net?
Last time.
So it's up 13,657 from last year.
Yeah, it's 35,560 is right.
Correct.
Okay.
Make a motion to accept the budget request for O-004 transfer out library for 235,560.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
You should probably do a roll call, Steph.
Okay. Let's do a roll call. Well, we've had 3 nay votes.
Yeah, you should roll. if you-
Anytime there's a nay.
I think you really are supposed to do a roll call anytime you don't have unanimous,
Okay.
particularly
Would
something
you
this
do a roll
important.
call, Lisa?
Mr. Ross,
Yay.
Mr. Brunel?
Yay.
Ms. Summers,
Yay.
Ms. Mellon. Yay. Mr. Parcell. Mr. Long.
Yay.
I'm sorry, Mr. Parcell, you are.
There's a yes.
Yes, thank you. 1 nay. Lisa.
You should probably go back and do roll calls for the other 2 then.
You think?
Did you have other nays?
Yes.
Sorry, I missed that.
I can tell you what they are.
I know what they're.
I've been writing.
Well, okay, so I'll move again because I moved it the first time. Motion to accept the budget request for 0831 employee insurances for $212,000 and $580. 212.
Yeah, I've already moved. You just need to re-vote with the
Yeah,
roll call.
okay.
Mr. Lawler,
Nay.
Mr. Parcell,
Yes.
Ms. Mellon. Yes. Ms. Summers,
Yes.
Mr. Ross,
Yes.
Mr. Brunel.
Yes.
1 nay.
Thank you.
Was,
The other one was,
Human Services.
Confirm what that is.
On that short page.
Kid 5.
Yes. Right, that's our page. Okay. So to remind everyone, that was the one with the 6,000 reduction. Well, that's one we just did, right? So we already do a roll call on that?
No.
Okay. So it was a transfer out to, for human services at 126,595. So you want to do the roll call?
Mr. Ross,
Yes.
Mr. Parcell,
Yes.
Mr. Lawler,
Yay.
Mr. Brunel,
Yes.
Ms. Summers,
Yes,
Ms. Mellon.
Yes.
1 nay.
thank you.
I didn't catch those and then people back.
Thanks, Mike.
Fire marshal.
Yeah.
I move to accept the budget request for 0231 fire marshal for $27,085.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion to accept the budget for request for 0232 AEDs and dispatch fees for $52,175.
Second.
All in favor?
Good.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion to accept the budget request for 0234 emergency management director for 9,554.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Is this one still been played on with anyone, or should we go ahead?
Go ahead.
Okay. Motion to accept the budget request for O-004 transfer out ambulance for $662,380.
612,000.
Did that reflect the 50?
612,000 is a 50,000 reduction. 662 would be without the 60,000.
So it was okay as moved? I mean, isn't that what we discussed?
Yeah, I just thought this was as it was, sorry. Read the number.
Yes. The motion you mean, or the, okay, or just the number? You need the whole thing. Okay, move to accept the budget request for O-004 transfer out ambulance for $662,380. members. And does anyone second that? Okay, okay.
I'll second it.
Is this the,
Did you?
You did.
Okay.
so real quick, that 50, is that he was talking,
That was a placeholder from last week that one of the board members asked to be included. So on my sheet, it was 50, we just restored it.
okay, I got confused.
We did not cut 50,000 out of the ambulance.
Okay.
Is that,
That's correct.
is that what everyone's understanding was when we voted?
Yes.
understand.
Right?
Just want to be sure.
Include the 50, right?
We're all good?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. I got confused for a second.
I was confused.
Just one, is it clear to you, chief?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. For that, all in favor?
I,
I'm a no.
I'm in too.
Okay,
Roll call.
can we do a roll call, Lisa?
He's writing. Okay. Mr. Ross,
Yes.
Mr. Brunel,
Yes.
Ms. Summers,
Yes.
Ms. Malin,
Yes.
Mr. Marcel,
No.
and Mr. Lawler.
Nay.
2 nays.
All right.
I make a motion to accept the budget request for 004, transfer out Wellington Fire Department 1 for $193,413.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Move to accept the budget request for O-004, transfer out Wellington Hill Fire Department for $186,180.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, and then Board of Ed's last one.
I'll move to accept the budget request for the Board of Education for $10,694,303.
Second.
That's not the number I have.
What do you have?
I have 10,604,175.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
That's what the insurance
Yeah.
savings that Phil gave us today. It was 10,600,000. Do you want to read it again, Sherry, please?
I have 10,604,175. That's the number that Phil gave us earlier today, minus 200,000.
Okay, I'll amend my motion to that number. 10,604,175.
And that includes the 200,000?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Second. Which one is it?
I think I already did, yeah.
Do you? Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Yay.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Lawler,
Yay.
Mr. Parcell,
Yes.
Ms. Summers,
Yes.
Ms. Malin,
Yes.
Mr. Brunel,
Yes.
and Mr. Ross.
Yes.
1 nay.
That's it. We didn't leave one open.
Yeah, we gotta go back to on page.
I thought we were gonna discuss it.
It's 2.
Just real quick, don't you have to move region as well?
I'm sorry?
Don't you have to move the region budget as well?
No.
No.
Not yet.
Oh,
No, we don't, we really don't. We kind of get the charge and, but yeah, that's true. It's a different, if it's a different number, but we're going to hope that that your reporting is as good as it always is, Arthur, and that's gonna be carried through.
So we just have Park and Rec?
Yeah.
So what we.
So here's what we have. We have a place, she asked for 39,995. We reduced it already in discussions, last week, I believe, to 18,250. That's a 24% increase instead of a 44% increase. So the number there is, Sherry, that includes the 18,250 taken out, right?
Correct.
And leaves it at a 24% increase. Can you read us a status again on where we are with, if we just accept that as it is in the number that you've got?
You mean the bottom line?
Yeah.
Bottom line, bottom line percentage, so I had the ambulance, 50,000 in there that was taken out before. The total percent is 4.1%.
Because we put the 50,000 back. See, I didn't think we took that out last week. But I guess we did.
Oh, I thought you took it out before. I thought that's
We did take it out, but we had to put it back in because we just.
I think we played with it a little and flip flop back and forth a couple times.
okay, because when I talked to you earlier, I thought we removed the cut.
We take out the 50,000 or we take out the takeout of the 50,000?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I thought we
terminology
restored
is-
it. But what we just passed was restoring it to their original.
Right, which was sort of, yeah, it's
I
a
think-
full amount.
Okay, do you, I guess what I would ask is there enough confusion on the board that we should rediscuss that one?
Yeah.
I make a motion, we rediscuss it.
I don't think you have to. I don't think you have to do that. I think we should actually revisit it. Okay,
You're talking about going back to the ambulance. So, I just want to reiterate my point that if you're thinking about using offsets, that's a different conversation than saying you want to cut the program. I just want to be clear on that because I want to try to avoid trying to climb again next year, depending on what your choice is. If you feel they should cut the expense and cut the program, that's your certainly. But if you're thinking about applying an offset, let's talk about doing that through the fund balance or another way so that the true expense budget shows.
So we could authorize an additional 50,000 from the fund balance tonight. That would bring us back
Well,
down to 3.8.
Correct.
It would balance out the 50 you just put back.
And then 10%
The
number
mill
starts
rate.
looking like, you're supposed to maintain, we're down to what, 10% on fund balance now?
It'll stay at 10%.
Yeah, but so we want to try to get a little higher.
Right, but we're still.
Yeah.
what is the true increase in the ambulance budget this year? What is there, I know that with the contract negotiation, is it, what's the growth amount you have built in?
2.4. The from last year's budget.
The net growth is 2.4, but the salaries were moved before the contract.
Correct.
And now they're,
Overall, the whole, from last year's budget to this year, or this current year to next fiscal year's 2.4.
Well,
It's
but it's showing 21.5 on the sheet
because of the
offsets last year.
On the offsets.
Again, which is why I want to make our offsets more clear.
yeah.
So what you'll see in the farthest right column is 20.1.
21.3.
Oh, 21.3, I'm sorry.
So as it stands now, what we would be increasing it is considering 2.4 raises in the following year or in next year?
Yeah, for sure.
And if, Walt, if we applied 50,000 from the fund balance, we would still have an additional 43
From the 93.
from the 93.
But, you know, but doing that as part of the budgeting process starts them in the hole next year in terms of what their real payroll is.
My biggest problem with the ambulance
Like what gives
is
it
tolerance. That's my biggest problem. We provide nighttime service to them because they won't spend the money to do it. And, you know, I know that Peter and I know that Mike, you've talked to Foley over there. He's a well-known bureaucrat. You just tell him, we're not providing service to them anymore.
We are,
We're required.
it is definitely, something I'm increasing the pressure on. I feel very strongly the same thing. It is unfair.
Yeah.
That particularly because I know they sometimes have 11 people on duty during the day. And yeah, I don't think it's acceptable, and I do intend to keep pushing it. And ramping up the pressure.
Even
I
if
think
they did, even if they did, though, we would still be paying for our guys to be there too.
Yes, but I think to Bruce's point is we're traveling to Tolland in an unfair
Yeah.
ratio. And they're also not available to help us at night. So is it a big budget impact? It's probably not a huge budget impact, but it is some wear and tear. And it is some taking the vehicle out of town when maybe it could be here for Wilmington residents.
Right.
I mean, mutual aid is important, mutual aid is critical, but this is a little out of balance.
But if we take the money out, then we lose coverage here in town.
And may not be able to go to calls in Tolland anyway. Because you don't have the room.
I think what I feel like about this is a large cut to that we need a stronger conversation, and we need to have it. We'd not put it off until next budget season about whether this town can continue to sustain a 24-hour service. Especially looking at what the imbalances are with mutual aid calls.
And I wouldn't let him tell us what we're going to do. I would tell him what we're not going to do and leave it at that.
Well, I just think that
I feel you. I can't commit to that here in a meeting on the record, but I'll just say I'm with you, Bruce.
And if I can just add, there are a couple more avenues I can try with them as well, and I will be more than happy to do that.
yeah, I think it's that if you really study the ambulance budgets, that it has escalated over the years. I don't think Fund 17 is a reasonable resource to hit up to balance payroll budgets. I just don't. It's got to be sustainable on its own. And that's what we're kind of trying to bring home this year, or this in this process, but realizing it needs a real light of day, not budget pressure discussion about what can this town sustain before we whack anything.
And just your comment about Fund 17, remember that the contract between the fire departments and the town was built around the fact that Fund 17, one of its primary purposes can be to balance payroll, because that is revenue generated by the people on the ambulance. So it's a direct relationship. So it is in the contract that the intent is not to exclusively, but it is okay to be using it to balance payroll, depending on the group decision, to make sure there's enough to pay for fire trucks.
Understood, yeah, but that was at a time when fire trucks were in 6 figures instead of 7 figures.
Well, but if you go back further, it originally was intended to sustain the whole salary too. So the back and the time arguments are all blown out of the water now.
Yeah, I would just rather, the budget sustain itself for a month,
I know it's water under the bridge for that 15-year increase in year one on the contract like that. That's just painful to even. How they got through like that is hard to fathom.
I think that's what was behind our asking for scenarios, was
I understand.
frustration, so therefore, What are you guys recommending on that?
We're talking about, Park and Rec?
Well, no, didn't we reopen ambulances?
Yeah, we did.
Well, we did.
For discussion.
Park and Rec, but yes. You've already voted on the ambulance.
Yeah, but we went.
We did, but
went back
we
to-
agreed to revisit it because there was confusion about the, budget requests and the.
I will say from looking at it from First Selectman point of view, as far as providing emergency services to the community, I don't feel comfortable at all with any scenario where we're gonna start having a single staff person on duty where we've created, I mean, sometimes that happens because you're short, but where we're creating a single staff person on duty is, I do not think that's prudent. It means the ambulance can't respond unless we're lucky to get like a volunteer show up. That's a big delay. It means the one person working is alone.
I think the only other thing I would say is if you have flexibility within your year to work out the situation that you have with budgeting for overtime that you know is gonna happen because the way the hours are divided up among the full timers. I wish you would correct that so that we're at least not in overtime situations, even on a status quo time period.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
That would be a step in the right direction. Okay. Thank you, everyone. I guess I would ask, is there a reason to call that vote again? Has anyone been persuaded the other way? Or would anyone like to call that vote again?
How did you,
I'm thinking
you
we're in-
originally approved it at 612, which is the reduction, right?
No.
Oh, you originally approved it at the
662, restoring the 50,000 placeholder cut
2
from
days
last
and
week
the rest.
that I thought we had already done.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could always let
So-
them
A lot of
keep
back
that
and
money.
forth.
You could always let them keep that money and take the $50,000 out of CIP.
Well, we also haven't talked about Fund 17 also. Well, you talked about Fund 17 before, but we haven't looked at the balance of Fund 17 and considered offsets from there either, that is ambulance revenue. So that should be considered as part of the conversation. Even if you decide it's not a good idea, it should be considered.
Wait, what's the balance of Fund 17? That's interesting.
Checking.
Yeah, Jim probably knows. Do you know the balance of Fund 17?
It wasn't, yeah.
I knew it at one time, but that was like 3 weeks ago. I've got a lot of numbers.
All right, the number we have is, as of July 1st, 2026, about 595,000 after current expenditures.
And how much was expected to go towards already committed loan payments or whatever expenses?
In year one, 61,000 is already committed. We are projecting to spend 741,000 out of that account next year, however.
And we're also increasing the revenue by $40,000 a year too. Right?
Yes.
Because the ambulance building's been running, we said it could safely add $40,000 to the revenue. There's almost 250 just right there in increased revenue.
But we don't have 700 or whatever.
Yeah,
else you
right.
said.
First year too.
We're estimating incoming receipts to that at 200,000, give or take, so it covers it. The approach is that is we have an ambulance fire truck replacement to allow for, the hope is we paid half of that $1.2 million truck out of that fund balance initially, and then do a 7-year lease on the rest. That allows for enough projected incoming revenue based on minus lease obligations to potentially still allow for the replacement of an ambulance, a new lease for a new ambulance should it be needed, which is the primary purpose of that account. So we are.
See, there is a plan.
We're strapping that account pretty dry. I can't tolerate more than the ambulance and the one truck.
Right, so with the 200,000 projected revenue, we're now increasing that to 240. So there's 40,000, if you wanted to look at Fund 17, there's 40,000 of it right there. If you wanted to instead leave that alone because it's tight, then you could talk about the 93,000 coming back out of this year's budget as a potential.
Okay, Fund 17 is, I mean, do we need to go back, do we need to do another vote, another roll call on the ambulance? Don't think so?
I don't think anybody's mind has been changed.
Okay. So one thing I would like to do before we move on Parks and Rec is find out what it would be if we're at, did you say we're at 4.1?
4.1.
What it would be if we, when we've applied 191,000, whatever, to the fund balance for the computation?
Yep, I have the 191,000 in there, yep.
Okay. What would it look like if you put 50,000 in, additional 50,000 from the projected fund balance?
There's 3.8%.
The additional 50,000 in there brings the mill rate to 27.68, which is an increase of 2.26 mils.
I thought we were at 3.8%
Yeah.
2.68 mils, okay. Yeah.
Yep, that's the number we had previously.
Then it went over 4 because of the.
Yeah, because of the 50.
Ambulance, yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was already out of the role we're doing the tally. So. Right, so, and that was what was that overall percentage?
3.8.
Okay. So how do you all feel about that? Applied fund balance, so that just additional 50 on top of the closed out projects.
Yeah, I think so.
Bruce,
You know, I'd like to see a higher fund balance.
we all would. Yeah, I'm hesitant, but, honestly, I think a 4% budget, the 3.8. Pretty good for considering what costs we're juggling. I'm gonna move to, accept the budget request for O-004 transfer out Parks and Rec for 112,745.
I'll second that.
And that's including, just to be sure, Sherry, double dog sure, 18, a reduction from last week of 18,250.
Yes, that's right.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yep. Opposed?
Yeah.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Lawler,
Yeah.
Mr. Parsell,
Yes.
Ms. Malice,
Yes.
Ms. Summers,
Yes.
Mr. Brunel,
Yes.
and Mr. Ross.
Yes.
One day.
I will move in our computation to add to the amount already applied to fund balance in the computation.
Can I just,
Yeah,
for correction on that, you had not made a motion previously, so I think you should just make one motion to apply the full.
Oh, yeah,
number to $241,000 of fund balance.
okay, yeah. That one that has here. Where do we have that on, where does that fall on the motion sheet?
It's not.
It's not on the
It's not
motion.
on the motion sheet, because those are allocations.
So,
They're different. And you can change this number doesn't always have to be set this night either. You know, sometimes it's just left in as a planning tool till later in the budget process.
maybe we should leave it open, this part of it, because we also don't have the updated 6:30 numbers. Won't that be?
The problem is
6:30
then,
numbers.
then
The insurance.
The 6 o'clock news.
Oh, okay. I was thinking like
Sorry.
account 6:30. I'm like,
No, if it's really going down to around 20, is that, something like that? That will make a difference.
but if we don't apply it, people are gonna see that the increase is.
No, I think you can apply it as a planning tool. You just don't have to make it a motion until later in the process, like once we've seen the
In
insurance
case we
and
have
all the other
tweaked
stuff,
out.
in case you need to tweak it a little bit, right? Because applied fund balance is not by law, that's not the part that taxpayers need to approve. Taxpayers need to approve what you're gonna spend and the taxation.
All right. So it will still go out.
And it's still gonna be in the budget they approve anyway. You'll have settled the number by then.
So my question is, what will the number be will the number they see, or will the number that will go out be inclusive of the real insurance impact? Or not?
We should have that number within a couple of days, and then we can update and notify you where we are. You can decide if you need to hold a special meeting to acknowledge it, or if you feel it's only gonna improve things.
Do we need to revote on anything to accept that number? The insurance?
I think when we go through the budget hearing and town meeting process, there's always an opportunity for adjustments at that point. I think that's when you clean up the loose ends.
Yeah, because the Board of Finance usually meets at the
Right.
end of in order to set the mill rate and all that, so they could.
Yeah, you clean up that stuff as we get closer to the referendum.
And we do it at the budget hearing, which the Board of Finance presides over?
Yes. We usually hold a hearing and a meeting the same night.
Yeah.
So you have the hearing, you close the hearing, you open the meeting, you make your adjustments if need be.
Okay.
And then the final packet goes out, the updated packet goes out to the taxpayers. I'm assuming you and I will work on some sort of an explainer that's gonna go with it. Tell a little bit of the story of the budget.
Okay. So I don't think we need to do any other official motions tonight.
We have them all, right? Yeah.
We have
Done
them
all.
all. Okay. Good work, everybody. Thank you for your participation.
Starting in 11.
We do have to speak.
You might all please get home.
Let's say, I would be, no, oh, you think they're all sleeping? There's a gazillion people on Zoom. Okay. So. It's the branch. Yes. Okay. Let's open. Well, first, there's a letter in your packets, on, under correspondence that I shared with you all. It's from, Aaron and Dottie, two different letters. This was shipped out, I think, to the Board of Finance anyway. I got to see it. Speaking in opposition to the library, but.
Oh, I did see that.
Yeah. Right. Just wanted to be sure you saw that and read that.
Yeah. My brain.
Okay, present to speak. And if you stay with us, you're really expected to speak. No. Is there anyone in the room or on Zoom? Nick? Please, you're gonna, you'll do it anyway. ID yourself again, even though you
Yes.
did earlier.
Nick Tello, Myrtle Road.
Thank you.
So I want to start by correcting something I said previously regarding superintendent salary. I wasn't off by tens of thousands like it was suggested by Mike McGoo. The total compensation, when you include stipends and additional pay, is about $175,000, overseeing roughly 370 students. So I stand corrected at $10,000. So let's be clear, the point still stands that we're extremely top heavy for very little to oversee, with a full-time superintendent and 2 principals along with all their support staff. We are also looking at an increasing the mill rate from 25.42 to 27.68. That's an 8.9% increase in taxes as currently stated. So if someone was paying $5,084 before, now they're paying about $452 more. At the same time, the average household income only saw about a 2 to 3% increase. The exact number I saw on the BLS, I believe, was 2.3%. For roughly $2,000 more that they're making. So about 20 to 22% of their new income that they're making, about 1/5 of their money is going to go to the town of Wellington for taxes. And the remaining now has to be stretched across the inflated prices in groceries, utilities, gas, oil, insurances, and everything else that has gone up. And here we go again, asking taxpayers to give up a significant portion of their raises to fund this. There's also a large new school tax bill being pushed down our throats to come from the SBC. Even though the townspeople have already stated that they want the school to be maintained. On top of that, the fire department has projects that seem far more necessary in their attention. At some point, accountability has to matter. Right now, it doesn't. Again, for another year, doesn't seem like it's going to be there. But 8.9% tax increase as we're going into tomorrow from this meeting. Thank you.
Jen McCoo.
Hi, thank you so much. Having watched this entire meeting and having listened to everything that folks have talked about, the tone that the meeting started off with was pretty disappointing. Having sat on 2 of the boards that are represented tonight and agonizing over decisions that we made as far as cuts and how it would impact the town and how it would impact students. It's disturbing is not strong enough, but I can't think of a better word at 10:17 at night to hear folks casting aspersions on our willingness to cut, to understand the financial positions of folks in town. Because I think sometimes people forget that we also live in town and everything that we do affects us as well. So I would welcome folks who are concerned about our motivation, our willingness to work together, to maybe attend some meetings, ask some questions when the work's happening, and see if we can come to some kind of an understanding. Thank you.
Thank you. Art?
Arthur Christensen, Birch Meadow Lane. I, like most people, I like being right. Nice when you're right. This time I don't want to be right, but I'm right again. Because last year I said, I guarantee you, Board of Finance is going to cut out of the school savings again because you've done it. This will be now 3 years in a row. And you can have your reasons, you can have your excuses, you can have all that. But the point of that money is to go toward a large school building project to ease the cost of that project. It's saving for the future to ease the cost of the future. And once again, 3 years running, you pulled money from it. And I called it last year and I was praying I was wrong. And I'm not wrong. You did it again. $200,000 out of that one. And I don't understand the logic of holding the Parks and Rec budget for last. How much more blood were you gonna get out of that stone to make any difference in the mill rate at that point? You had already slashed it by 18 grand. What were you gonna get? Another 5 out of it? Maybe? So we continue to not have ADA compliant porta potties at River Road or whatever it was gonna go toward. How much more were you gonna get out of it? You could have taken care of that way earlier. Got that one out of the way. I don't like the targeting toward Parks and Rec as somebody who volunteers for them. It's very disappointing to see. I keep telling you, you're gonna lose good people if this keeps up. Thank you.
Jim?
Hi, thanks, guys. Jim Marshall, Fisher Hill Road. I'll just follow up on Aubrey's comments. And to say, I'm not necessarily being critical. I understand you got to do what you got to do with capital improvement budgets. And it's all about trying to figure out the best path forward as a community. With that said, just for the record, over the past 3 years now, you've cut capital reserve savings by 22%. To offset $400,000 of increased spending and operational budget for the town. And that's where it becomes unsustainable. And Arthur or the prior speaker, I don't know who I'm supposed to address, is right. This money is to alleviate future impact that is coming, whether we prepare to acknowledge it or not. It's going to happen, and it's going to be worse if we don't get ahead of it now. So this saving is valuable. It is preventing future increases that will be much more dramatic. Thank you for being as modest as you could be with it, because we're not going to be able to make it up if it goes much deeper, because again, we feel that pain next year. So thank you guys for the work that you do and for being as balanced as you could be. I wish things were different, but I understand where we're at.
Here. Yes.
Hi, Jamie Gilbrecht, 79 Common Road. I wanted to clarify that I didn't come here with the intention of wanting anybody to get let go. The reality of what I was trying to say, and it did seem to work, is that there's a lot of other line items that can be looked at before directly impacting our children. I mean, even on these items set to be cut here that are anticipated or whatever talked about, you're going to have kids sit on folding chairs because we can't afford $3,600, but we can afford $38,000 in dues and memberships. Like, it just seems really misguided, and that was my intention about it. And personally, I think that at this point we do need principals, so I don't want to be lumped in with that one. Thank you.
Thank you. Ralph?
Ralph Tillage for the Silver. I want to express my disappointment that there was no change in reductions of public works budget. And we may wind up 10 years down the road with a wonderful new school that we'll be paying a bond for, and some pretty horrible local roads because we don't have the money to keep up with the increasing cost of asphalt, chip sealing, and whatever labor is involved in some of those road jobs. So, mark my words, there will be a problem with the budget when it comes to roads in 5 to 10 years. And good luck.
Anyone on Zoom who would like to speak that I'm not seeing? Are you seeing?
No.
Anyone else in the room? Peter?
Peter Lipidge, 97 Trask Road. I, like many who have already spoken, am deeply disappointed by tonight's outcome. It's evident to almost any casual observer that our budget process is broken, not working in the best interest of our community. We started the budget process by encouraging every budget group to submit highly inflated budgets, consuming all the time available to this board and those of us who come to watch your deliberations. And then finally, during the appropriations process, some meaningful effort is made towards approaching what all Wellington families are experiencing, inflationary increases. But we're told that we can't possibly expect a town or the town government to live within that increase. But Wellington families, they don't matter. They can just flounder as they will. And when there's an attempt to provide input at the very end of this chaotic process that focused only on increases until tonight, we're told that by public officials in the audience and on your board that when people provide feedback, those are personal attacks. This is not working for our town. And if we can't be presented with a credible operating budget, it's very difficult for townspeople to consider major capital projects because you simply lack credibility. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Oh,
Yeah.
right.
Adams Loans, 119 River Road. It's been a long night. Everyone's tired. I know we got through it, but I'd like to ask that going forward, the town try to look at this in a more systemic view, engineering wise, look for possible synergy between different things, purchasing, say, contracts, building, maintenance practices. We don't work towards coming with an optimized budget and processes within our town. We're never going to get there. If we don't work towards it, it's never going to get better. So some sort of way that we can look at it systemically and go through the processes and evaluate things and see if we can get a more efficient way to operate.
Okay. Thank you. Good and welfare, Darius, please.
This is a really difficult process, and those people who are attacking the Board of Finance and attacking different people in town, I just think it's totally uncalled for. We are volunteers who come here and do the best that we can. Did we want to cut these budgets? No. But we also realize that we're not going to pass a budget that's 6.9%. So we made some difficult decisions. And those who understand that process, thank you for listening and understanding what we're doing. And those that all you do is attack and never have a positive thing to say, I'm sorry, but you tend to get tuned out. I know you do by me, because all I ever hear is negative, negative, negative from the same people. And this is my last meeting. I'm resigning next week because I've been asked to fill in as treasurer, and I can't do both by state statute, otherwise I would. And so I'm glad I was able to stick it out through today. And I'll be seeing you guys around.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, Lori. It's a pleasure to serve with. Been on many boards with you. So, thanks for your comments. Anyone else on the board? Good and welfare? No, I just would like to thank you for your perseverance and for all the work I know that you did behind the scenes, talking to people and crunching your own numbers. And no, there's many things that some of us even helped put in motion that we end up cutting here at the table now. We're not at all wild about. It's not something that anyone here personally wants to do in terms of tailoring those things. I mean, some of the decisions we made were in the largest year-over-year increases in the largest budgets. Like in a case where someone's ask was, approaching, it was more than $500,000, we took it down quite a lot. So, that is painful, and I understand the long-term plan, and I think that the town would benefit very much from some planning ahead about operating. I'm glad that we're doing what we are on capital and on other projects that are really long-term. But just, growing budgets long-term on the operating side needs its own special care because it's strategic. It's not like you really can ever sign off on a double-digit increase, in these kinds of budget years. And frankly, the revenue drying up really killed us. Plus, last year is hard to come back from. And that's what I think what the first selectman and others were pointing out, that it ends up being harder and harder for this board to balance budgets when there's really no here there as far as underpinning. So that means we're pretty ruthless on the operating side. And makes us all sad, so.
More to come on revenue ideas this summer, so everyone.
Great, and I think there's there's definitely some off-season things that we've been talking about that we haven't in the process of doing the budget, but some better planning and better sort of tracking on some things that would help us. So, strategic things we could do to maybe grow the revenue. So, thank you very much. I think we are adjourned. You're good with that? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.